Chapter-81-100 He is Li Ang. This is the G4 naval branch, which has been standing here for decades. How is this possible? If you don't see it, it will disappear. Am I going the wrong way? Luo Lisi, who has been a tour guide for 5 years, couldn't help but have this idea in her heart. If you didn't take the wrong route, why didn't you see the naval branch here? But the 5-year tour guide has made him very familiar with this route. Even if he closes his eyes, he can't go wrong. How could he go the wrong route? For the sense of direction, Luo Lisi is still quite confident. However, how to explain the current situation? Why is the sea frozen? This is unscientific, and the weather is not yet winter. Moreover, there is no sub-zero temperature in the sea area in this area. Okay, why is it frozen? A tourist asked suspiciously. That's right. Rallis suddenly woke up. Her eyes were fixed on the position where the ship was stuck in the ice. The navy in front was all frozen, and the whole ship could no longer move an inch. It stands to reason that this sea area is impossible to freeze. But right now, everything she sees is a bit subversive. Look, there are people fighting on the ice ahead. A tourist shouted loudly, lost his voice, and his expression was full of panic. Everyone looked away. What they saw made them unforgettable for the rest of their lives. A cloud of magma bombarded the sea, cracking the ice blocks apart. At the same time, a group of golden rays of light penetrated the sea and raised the sea water to splash dozens of meters above the sky. It was quite terrifying and mighty. What is this? Rallis, eyes widened, her lips trembling. She has been a tour guide for so many years, but she has never experienced these things, so scared that she almost knelt on the ground on the spot, unable to support. Look, they're flying into the sky. I'm Tortoise, where are these monsters from? The ice is cracked, oh my god, what terrifying force does it take to cause such a devastation? Miss Rallis, let's go, it's too scary here, I don't want to play here. Quote. Countless tourists were terrified and said with palpitations on their faces. Don't say it's them. Even Loris herself did not dare to stay here any longer. She is also afraid of death. If she is not careful, the mass of magma will come over. According to the terrifying degree of the magma just now, I am afraid that all of them, even people in boats, will disappear in this world. Wait. Suddenly, a sharp voice came out. Look at it again. Does this look like the 3 generals of the Navy headquarters? Isn't that mass of magma General Akainu? That's right, there's still a ball of golden light, General Yellow Monkey. The one who caused this sea area to freeze may be General Aokiji. The 3 generals were dispatched at the same time. Who are they going to deal with? Quote. Countless tourists were boiling. Some people with good eyesight could see the blurred faces of the figures in that battle. In this way, they can effectively distinguish the identities of these people. What shocked them was that in this battle, they could already be sure that the 3 of them were the Akainu, Kizaru, and Aokiji of the Navy's highest combat power, the 3 generals. The 3 generals are dispatched at the same time. Chapter-81-100 He is Li Ang. Please order first. Please customize. 10 out of 10. The 3 generals are dispatched at the same time. Luo Lisi was dumbfounded, her face dazed. This news, I am afraid, will cause turmoil in the sea. However, who are the 3 people who will be dealt with? That person's speed is too fast to see clearly. It's terrible. He is alone, and he is actually entangled with the 3 generals. This is unheard of. In the sea, such a terrifying person appeared, entangled with the 3 generals, and did not lose the slightest. Look, even, the 3 generals seem to be struggling. That person's speed is too fast, and his whole body seems to be covered with a layer of armor. The tourists were moved, already attracted by the battle. They have temporarily forgotten their own safety issues, completely ignoring whether their continued stay here will bring them great danger. The battle at the level ahead, I am afraid that an aftershock will come over, and they will be instantly turned into powder, and there will be no bones left. But because what happened in front of them was so shocking that they simply forgot about their own safety hazards. That person always feels that his face is a little familiar. Have you seen it? A tourist stared at the battlefield ahead and blurted out. Yes, I have the same feeling, it seems. Where have I seen it? That's right, I feel it too. His face is very familiar. It's just that I can't remember it for a while, but I definitely know who he is. The tourists nodded and said. 4 people, the battle broke out, and the airflow generated came. The sea was choppy and choppy, one after another. Whoa! The seawater splashed up and dripped onto the board, and some tourists were instantly soaked. The bone-chilling cold made them tremble for a while, and when they came back to their senses, they remembered that they seemed to be on the verge of fighting. Come on, get out of here. The tourists finally realized it and hurriedly shouted. At the same time, the surrounding tourists shouted. Luo-Lisi immediately instructed the helmsman to change the sailing direction, as far as possible from here. However, she still quietly went to a camera and took pictures of the battlefield in front of her. She believed that these photos would definitely bring vibrations to the sea. I remember. I finally know who that young man is, shouted a tourist with a flash of inspiration. 147 inches speak quickly. He's Li Ang. The tourist took a deep breath and said, it's Li Ang who escaped from the advanced city some time ago. I won't admit it wrong, the person who competed with the 3 generals just now and did not lose the slightest is Li Ang. What? Li Ang? Is he on a par with the 3 generals alone? Impossible, he just escaped from the advancing city. How can he He Nang? Even if the 3 generals join forces, they can't easily take him down. Wait, having said that, I also thought of a terrible thing. Luo-Lisi's pupils shrank, and she lost her voice. My sailing route will not go wrong. However, if I don't see the G4 branch, there is only one possibility. The G4 branch has disappeared in the sea, and the root cause of all this, it's Li Ang himself. This means, Li Ang, he took action against the Navy headquarters. He destroyed the G4 branch and caused the joint siege of the 3 generals. This explanation makes sense for what we are encountering now. Speaking of which, Luo-Lisi's lips moved slightly, and she was speechless for a while. She herself was shocked by her own words and couldn't believe it. The rest of the tourists were stunned, their faces sluggish, and their eyes were filled with a deep sense of fear. Actually, someone destroyed the naval branch fortress. If this news spreads, it will be a huge turmoil for the entire sea. Chapter-82-100 All Body. The G4 naval branch was sunk by Li Ang. A tourist's lips moved slightly, his voice full of shock. There was a dead silence all around. Everyone can't believe what's happening now, but it's a fact. Li Ang is indeed fighting against the 3 generals, and he is not losing ground. This is a little scary. The 3 generals can't win a pirate. Can the sea be calm in the future? Let's go, get out of here, it's too scary here. If we are shocked by their attack, we're afraid we're all done. A tourist said quickly with a face full of fear. On the edge of this battlefield, he was always very uneasy in his heart. Yes, hurry up, let the helmsman sail out of this sea. Miss Rawless, please let us get out of here quickly. We don't want to stay here for too long. If we are not careful, we will all die. A bunch of Gaines roared. Finally, after taking more than a dozen battle scenes in the empty G4 branch of the Navy, Loris instructed the helmsman to leave here gradually. Holding a large photo in her hand, Luo-Lisi couldn't hide her excitement. If these photos are circulated, I am afraid that there will be huge turmoil. This is an exclusive revelation, and you will definitely get a lot of berry. Maybe, she can leave the career of tour guide directly and live a carefree second half of her life. ... Boom. A loud bang. The ice cubes cracked, revealing the flow of sea water, which was thrown into the sky. Li Ang was not a devil fruit, so he would not be afraid of the ice cubes under his feet being destroyed, nor would he have to worry that the seawater would penetrate into his body and bring about the consequences of his general weakness. On the contrary, Akainu, Kizaru, and Aokiji need to think about this issue. After fighting for so long, you guys, can't you still help me? Li Ang smiled lightly and said. The three generals wanted to kill him. This is basically impossible. His speed is so fast that he can effectively avoid any attack. In addition, the armed domineering also gave him a tyrannical defense, so that he did not have to worry about being shocked by the aftermath. Even if he was attacked by Akainu and others, he would not be killed on the spot. At this time, Li Ang held the autumn water, covered with a layer of armed color, and faced the yellow monkey in front of him. Kazuna held the Tiankong cloud sword and fought with Li Ang inextricably. However, purely from the point of view of swordsmanship, Li Ang is simply not sure how many grades higher than Kyabu. Gradually, Kizaru was at a disadvantage. Akainu and Aokiji attacked at the same time, attacking from the left and right, and launched a rapid attack on Li Ang. The Great Spitfire. The magma appeared all over Akainu's body and burst out, covering Li Ang's position. The Great Spitfire's attack range is too large. As a result, Kizaru and Aokiji had to withdraw from the battlefield. Boom! The ice cubes in the ground turned into seawater in an instant, and the steam was evaporated. The ice cubes in the surrounding area were also continuously damaged and turned into seawater. The green pheasant was emitting cold air all over his body. Wherever he passed, all the seawater froze into ice again. He held two ice thorns in both hands and looked at the hot area in front of him without any expression. At the same time, in the hot air area, Li Ang's figure appeared in the eyes of the three generals, and a terrifying slash broke out, attacking Akainu's position. Akainu kicked his feet and quickly disappeared in place. Chapter-82-retreat all over. Akainu kicked his feet and quickly disappeared in place. Click. A deep crack appeared, and the power brought by Li Ang's slash was quite terrifying. An obvious crack appeared on the huge ice surface, traversing thousands of meters away. There were obvious cracks on the sea surface. The seawater was rushing, and the middle position, as if the ground was cracked, the seawater could not heal within a period of time. The sea was cut open by a knife. If he suffered this blow head-on, even Akainu himself would be half-crippled if he didn't die. Just when the three generals were too surprised to act rashly, Li Ang said with a smile, "Everyone, let's see you next time. Today, my goal has been completed, and I played against you for a short while, so it's just an appetizer. Next time, when we meet, it will be real. Quote. Don't try to escape." Akainu's hands burst into magma and attacked Li Ang again. But Li Ang's figure gradually disappeared. All that was left was his afterimage. Under the siege of the three generals, Li Ang left calmly, without any injuries, not even the slightest loss, and retreated. After destroying the G4 branch, he chose to leave here directly. He's gone. The yellow monkey's face was heavy and he said in a low voice. How's the difference? Aokiji looked at the half of the naval branch fortress that had sunk to the bottom of the sea, with an inexplicable expression. Damn. Akainu waved his hand angrily, and the magma slammed into the sea, evaporating the sea water and steaming hot. The three of them were very aggrieved. They watched Li Ang leave, but there was nothing they could do. Such a feeling had not appeared in their hearts for many years. Moreover, this is still the case of three people joining forces, still let Li Ang escape. Next, if they return to the naval headquarters, what kind of ridiculous things will they face? The three generals, even a pirate can't keep it. This is more than making the Navy headquarters shameless, and even the world government will make people laugh. Diaresis, I didn't expect that his strength has reached such a terrifying level. If he is allowed to grow, what will he grow to? The yellow monkey's face was very solemn, and he said. When advancing the city, he did not think that he would lose to Li Ang, at least, not to be killed by the opponent. But now, if he fights alone, he is not confident that he can survive in Li Yang's hands. I don't know if he is hiding his strength, or his strength has been growing at a terrifying speed. If it is the latter, it will be troublesome. Aokiji thought for a while and said. The last thing he dared not believe was the latter possibility. But how could they know that Li Yang is a man with a modification system? Strength. Hand in hand. Isn't it as simple as wanting to drink water to improve strength? If not, what's the point of having a system? On an island not far from the G4 branch. Li Yang's figure appeared on this deserted island. He looked back at the sea behind him, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Do you think this is over? Then let me tell you, it is not enough. Next, I will announce the second naval branch as a target. Quote. What I'm curious about is, how will you guys deal with it? Will you send all your naval forces to encircle me? Or, will you submit to me? Destroying AG4 branch is not Li Yang's ultimate goal. Next. He will let the whole world know that he wants to be open and above board and take action against the second naval branch. This means that he is alone and has to go to war with the Navy headquarters. Chapter 083_exclusive revelations. Sager's Town. The traffic is convenient and the town is prosperous. There are basically very few pirates in this sea area. At this time, Luo Lisi was just logging in from the coast when she walked into the town in a hurry, her face full of anxiety, and the excitement in her eyes could not be concealed. I'm about to get rid of the current salted fish life, and I don't have to be a tour guide in the future. I have to endure being molested by some bad young people. This kind of day, I don't want to continue in my life. Today is the day when I turn over completely. This news of mine is absolutely unique. This kind of thing, it is impossible for the three major generals to make it public. Therefore, the resources I have are resources for vacations, and no one can replace them. Rawlis rolled her eyes quickly, looking for the biggest newspaper in town. The largest newspapers and magazines are connected to many islands. There is a common headquarters of 547 inches, so the scale can be described as very large. I'm afraid that even the three of Akainu don't know that the battle was actually filmed, and there were even a group of people who witnessed it with their own eyes. Soon, Luo Lisi found a newspaper office, hurriedly walked to the front desk, and said, I'm looking for your biggest person in charge. I have a unique piece of news, and I hope I can cooperate with him. Please wait a moment, ma'am. The beautiful staff member was still very polite and left after nodding. When she came back, a middle-aged man with a pot belly was brought beside her. His eyes narrowed, he looked at Luo Lisi, and asked, It's you, do you want to break the news? Yes, it's me. Rawlis nodded quickly, a little nervous. Come with me, my name is Keding. The middle-aged man smiled and led Luo Lisi into a quiet house. Subsequently, Keding smiled and asked, Do you have any unique news that you need to cooperate with me? Come and listen, I will give you the equivalent reward and will not deceive you. My news also provided evidence. Moreover, it will bring huge turbulence to the sea. Therefore, I can't easily tell you, I hope, to get an accurate payment. Luo Lisi was a little nervous and said bluntly. There has never been such a precedent in our newspapers. We will not easily make any promises or give any rewards until we know the weight of the news. Keding frowned and said. Well then, let me reveal it first. Luo Lisi took a deep breath, took out a photo, and handed it to Keding. Photos. Keding took the photo and glanced at it, only to see that it was a battle, a very terrifying battle, and he couldn't help asking, What do you mean by giving this photo? You pay attention to the people in the pictures. Luo Lisi looked around suspiciously, always feeling a little unsafe, huge. Hearing this, Keding carefully looked at the blurred figure in the photo for about 3 minutes. His face changed gradually, and he said, These 4 people, it seems, 3 of them are generals of the Navy headquarters. Among them, I saw 3 of Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru. That's right. Luo Lisi nodded solemnly and continued, and the people who were besieged by the three generals were the ones who had a great reputation recently and escaped from the advanced city, Liang. Liang. 3 generals besieged. Keting's eyes gradually enlarged. The amount of information was too large, and he needed to take some relief. It's terrible, it's still to come, but, I hope, you can give me a reward that will satisfy me. Rawlis continued. 100,000 berry. Keding calmed down and said. Not enough. 300,000 berry. Chapter 083 exclusive breaking news. 300,000 berry. It's still not enough. 1 million berry, buy it now. Deal. Rawlis nodded, and slowly said everything she had seen before. Liang destroyed the G4 naval branch. Moreover, he also had an inseparable fight with the 3 generals, and even in the end, he is very likely to leave calmly. That is to say, the highest combat power of the Navy headquarters, 3 generals shot at the same time, still can't shake Liang. Other than that, one after another. Rawlis completely told the truth about what she saw. Finally, after hearing Luo Lisi's dictation and adding some photos, Keting's whole body seemed to be stiff, his lips were trembling, and his face was full of horror and disbelief. The G4 branch was actually destroyed. This is something that can cause turmoil in the sea. Even the Navy headquarters will have a negative impact on it. I am afraid that even the world government cannot withstand this impact. It took many years for the world government to let many kingdoms join the world government, and it brought a lot of cohesion. With the emergence of this piece of news, there will be major changes. As a branch of the naval headquarters, the importance of the G4 branch fortress is self-evident. It represents the naval headquarters. If it is destroyed, what kind of majesty is the naval headquarters? At that time, the pirates will be more rampant. Thinking of this, Keding hurriedly called the phone bug. Hello, Ronaldinho. Immediately, print a newspaper for me, very urgent. This newspaper, I feel, will make the sea boil over. Newspapers never shy away from something. As long as it can cause turmoil in the sea, it is their goal. So, when Loris gave this news, Keding had a follow-up in mind. Immediately. After sending Loris away, Keding started the printing project and dispatched seagulls to wander around the world. Exclusive revelations. This is the real exclusive reveal. Keding can already predict that the sea will boil again next time. The busier the sea, the more news we can report. Keding thought so in his heart, and didn't think his actions were at all wrong. He just reported it truthfully and didn't add fuel to it. As for whether he will reap the benefits, this is no longer important. All in all, the sea will be turbulent for the news they report, and that's enough. 0.8 Go. Keding watched the seagulls leave and couldn't hide his excitement. From today, in the small town of Sagres, many seagulls appeared, with newspapers and magazines hanging from the corners of their mouths, and they spread rapidly to the surrounding locations. Whether it is the Great Channel, or the New World, or the 4 sea areas of the East China Sea, they will all be shaken by the next piece of news. Above the blue sky, white clouds fluttered. Seagulls take the small town of Sagres as the center point and fly high into the sky. Every once in a while, they drop newspapers and magazines. Countless newspapers and magazines fell from the air, some people reached out to catch them, and some people picked them up on the ground. But the end result is the same. Many people have seen the newspapers. The sea, at this moment, boils again. Chapter 084 The news swept the sea. Sky Town. The streets are crowded and lively. Above the sky, a seagull flew past, and newspapers and magazines flowed from the corner of his mouth. Old Yedo, help me see, is there any big news about the sea recently? Come on, you are coming at an age. What big news in the sea is none of your business. You don't understand this. Although I'm old, I'm not old. I still yearn for those free and unfettered lives. If you want to go, what do you do with your mother-in-law? Two old men were talking at a small street stall with smiles on their faces. The old man named Lao Yeto looked helpless, walked aside, picked up the newspaper, and read on it. The whole old face changed dramatically in an instant. "Old Yeto, what is written on it?" Another old man could not help but ask. "A big event, a shocking event." Old Yeto came quickly with newspapers and magazines in hand, and discussed with the old man. "My God, did something really happen? It's not just a major event, it's a major event that pierces the sky." "What?" "The headquarters of the Hai-O-2 army dispatched 3 generals to arrest the great pirate Liang. In the end, instead of capturing Liang destroyed the G4 naval branch." "This is too terrifying. The naval branch, if it is destroyed, it will be destroyed. Moreover, the 3 generals of the Navy have been dispatched, can't Liang be left behind?" Quote. The two were shocked, looking at the photos and portraits in the newspapers and the text inside. The old faces were horrified, full of disbelief. At the same time, in several neighboring islands, they all got the S of the newspapers. The whole sea is boiling for it. This piece of news is so terrifying, it almost piques what people think about the Navy headquarters. Originally, I thought that with the 3 generals sitting in the town, under the protection of the naval headquarters, the small kingdom could live and develop in a stable manner. But looking at it now, that's not the case. Even Liang, a pirate, and the 3 generals can't keep it, so why protect them? Do not make jokes. A piece of news caused a turmoil in the calm sea area. What? Who the fuck said before that Liang couldn't compare to the 4 emperors? It's a slap in the face. Can the 4 emperors be able to challenge the 3 generals and leave calmly? It's impossible, but Liang did it. Is this about to appear a 5th emperor? It's extremely terrifying. With this strength, looking at the whole world, not many people can fight him head-on. However, is this news true or false? It's not like the fake one. The characters in the picture are the 3 generals including Akainu. Quote. Many people have raised Liang's position to a level equal to that of the 4 emperors. After all, 1 person, against the 3 generals, this kind of record has made Liang's whole person extraordinary. In the past, Liang had no record. Even if he killed a group of pirates, he would not be able to make those strong people pay attention. But now, with this news, his reputation has reached an unprecedented height. If the 4 emperors were fighting alone, they would not dare to say that they could block the 3 generals. However, the battle between Liang and the 3 generals is right in front of him. Who doesn't agree? You asked him to play against the 3 generals to see if he could achieve Liang's record. Many people have a new understanding of Liang. Not limited to escaping from the advancing city, but a very terrifying big man. Chapter-84 The news is sweeping the sea. Not limited to escaping from the advancing city, but a very terrifying big man. Soon, the news spread, not just civilians. Even the kings of many countries and others have also received this news. What? The 3 generals couldn't keep a pirate? Was a pirate destroyed a naval branch fortress? In this way, can we still be sheltered by the Navy? If this pirate wants to attack us, can the Navy stop us? I'm so worried. Don't provoke this person, otherwise, the Navy headquarters won't be able to stop him. Quote. Countless kings were terrified. Originally thought that with the protection of the world government, they could sit back and relax. But with the appearance of Liang, reality gave them a slap in the face to wake them up. It's not that no one can't deal with them, but that no one can. Even the fortress of the naval branch has been destroyed, and he still cares about a country like him. At the moment, those so-called kings were moved. The 3 generals with the highest combat power in the Navy headquarters seem to be on an equal footing with Liang. Only 3 people can block 1 person. The question is, will they be attacked? Will the Navy dispatch 3 generals to do it? What's more, after the 3 generals came, they were afraid that the country would be reduced to ruins. So, such a terrifying figure, Li Ang, has become a nightmare in the hearts of countless kings. Far on the other side. The magic triangle, the horror bark. Inside the castle. Moonlight Moria held the latest newspaper and looked at the written on it, and his face was shocked. Brother Li, no, the Lord actually killed the naval branch. Morlia-sama, what are you talking about? Hogbok and Absalom were a little puzzled. You see. Moonlight Moria handed the newspapers and magazines in her hands to the two, and the shock on her face still could not subside. He was really taken aback by the newspaper. Hogbok and Absalom saw the in the newspapers, their mouths grew bigger, their faces widened, and their voices were round and round. In the battle of the three generals, they did not lose in the slightest. Is the strength of the Lord already so strong? Even the three generals can't help the Lord, and even leave calmly. This is really terrible. This is the real strength of the adults. What we have seen before is just the tip of the iceberg. At this moment, the adults are just starting to get serious. The two admired Li Ang even more, with little stars in their eyes. Even the fortress of the naval branch is destroyed if it is said to be destroyed. Li Ang is the only one who dares to make such a move in today's world. Even the daring four emperors would not dare to easily enter the great waterway and destroy a naval branch. But Li Ang did it, and even destroyed the branch fortress and retreated without leaving any scars. The three generals could not help him. Alone, to do such a terrible behavior, it is beyond description. Yeah, when he dealt with me back then, I'm afraid he wasn't serious. Otherwise, I'd already be dead. How could I be alive until now? Moonlight Moria said slowly with emotion on her face. Now that he recalled the scene at that time, he had a lingering fear in his heart. Almost, if Li Ang hadn't treated him, he would have died. The funny thing is that Li Ang hit him hard and finally pulled him back from the brink of death. Chapter 085 _ Our revolutionary army lacks this kind of talent. In addition to many pirates, even the navy itself received this news by coincidence. The three generals, Akainu, Kazaru, and Aokiji have all taken action, yet they can't keep Li Ang. Besides, Li Ang also destroyed the G4 branch. Then, will he still do it? If he wants to do it, can we stop him? No way, I have to be more cautious recently and must not be careless. If this monster suddenly attacks, wouldn't I be killed? Quote. Some navies have already retreated in their hearts. What frightened them was not that Li Ang destroyed the G4 branch. However, the three generals had already been dispatched, but in the end they were still unable to keep Li Ang. This was what they were most worried about. If Li Ang attacks the branch next, then these people who are in the branch fortress, aren't they wiped out by the other party in vain? If you count on the three major rescues in the future, the G4 branch is a lesson from the past, and it still cannot escape the result of being destroyed in the end. Navy, panic. Even Chiwahai heard news about Li Ang. Hawkeye, Doflamingo, and even the Blackbeard pirates who escaped from the Magic Triangle. They all got the message that has swept the sea. Li Ang destroyed the G4 naval branch, which meant that a full-scale war with the naval headquarters was about to begin. This is something they can't even imagine. Even the heroic Blackbeard has to admit that he doesn't have the guts, let alone the strength to do what Li Ang did. He could only be deeply shocked by what Li Ang had done, and even he himself was shocked. Li Ang's move was really frustrating. However, Li Ang has the ability to be insane, and his Blackbeard does not have this ability at all. Who can stop the three generals alone? There are only a handful of people in the world who can do this, and they can be counted on one hand. Among them, it does not include his Blackbeard, nor does it include Hawkeye, Doflamingo and others. Neither of them dared to do what Li Ang did. Great waterway, some deserted island. Captain, this Li Ang is terrible. Vassos looked at Blackbeard in horror and whispered. The Blackbeard pirates, who escaped from the Magic Triangle, chose a deserted island for temporary recuperation. Hearing this, Blackbeard nodded solemnly. In the future, don't provoke him. At present, no, let alone now. Even in the future, we're afraid we won't have the power to shake him. Yeah, he's terrible. Raffet nodded and wiped the scarred scar on his neck. At that time, Liang held the black knife Chushui against his neck, which made him still have lingering fears in retrospect. The rest of Fan Oka and Poison Q nodded in unison. Liang's slash against them at that time is still vivid in his mind. Even Blackbeard himself tried his best to activate the devil fruit, but he couldn't stop Liang's slash. Now, Liang collided with the three generals, and even later retreated. This is more than they can provoke. The three big will still be too terrifying enemies for them, far from being able to contend with them now. And Liang alone can fight against the three generals, which makes Blackbeard dare not imagine what a terrible strength can do this. Come on, get out of here. The sea will be chaotic soon, so it's better to execute our plan effectively. Blackbeard's eyes twinkled brightly. He said. What they were riding was just a raft, not a pirate ship that was too luxurious. The Great Passage, the Isle of White Earth, Baldigo. There are people coming and going in the streets. On the surface, it is an ordinary small island town. Basically, there is no place that is too prominent. However, no one knows that here is the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army. The headquarters of the Revolutionary Army, which aims to overthrow the world government, is here. Even the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Drago, is here to arrange matters. Empty hall. Countless people gathered together to discuss matters, and the leader was naturally Drago with a tattoo on his face. Chief, big thing, big thing. Chapter 085 _ Our Revolutionary Army is short of this kind of talent, please customize it. Chief, big thing, big thing. A soldier of the Revolutionary Army rushed in with a newspaper in hand, looking excited. What's the matter? Drago asked. He is not the only one here, but also Sabo, who has lost his memory, Kurla, a beautiful woman who is a cadre, Haku the fishman karate, and others, all looking at this person invariably. I see. The young Revolutionary Army put newspapers and magazines on the table, took a deep breath, and explained, the headquarters of the Navy has suffered an unprecedented attack. No, it is not the headquarters of the Navy, but the branch of the Navy. The fortress of the G4 naval branch was slaughtered, and all the navies inside were slaughtered. Moreover, even the entire fortress was sunk to the bottom of the sea. What? Kurla's voice was slightly sharp, and she couldn't believe it. The naval branch was destroyed. This is a big event. Some people have actually done something that even the Revolutionary Army dared not do. This is quite the rhythm of going to war with the world government. Dorag was a little shocked and said, what happened to this person later? The naval headquarters should dispatch a general to come and attack him. That's right. Soldier of the Revolutionary Army nodded and became even more excited. This is the point. The three generals were dispatched in unison, but, in the end, they still couldn't keep him and let him retreat without any injuries. My God, how strong is this guy? The Murloc Haku of Murloc Karate was a little stunned and said. Even he himself can't imagine what kind of picture it is. People who can't keep the three generals are simply terrifying. The three generals have joined forces, but still can't keep him. Drago's eyes twinkled, and there was a thought in his heart. He naturally understands the strength of the three generals. The two sides dealt with each other more. The Revolutionary Army has always fought against the world government and has never disappeared into the sea. As the saying goes, if you know yourself and your enemy, you will be able to fight 100 battles without being imperiled. The Navy headquarters is standing at the top, and Drago will be more or less clear. What's more, he also has an old man named Karp, so he is even more aware of the terrifying strength of the three generals. But even with such terrifying three big men, even when they joined forces, they still couldn't keep one of them. What does this mean? From the side view, the person who destroyed the G4 branch was too powerful. Diaris is so, Who is he? Kurla asked with her pink lips slightly parted. His name is Li Ang. The revolutionary soldier said slowly. Li Ang. Everyone was shocked, and the empty hall fell into silence. It's Li Ang again. What they were still talking about was about Li Ang. And now, there has been such a huge news, which almost made them unacceptable. Li Ang, alone, destroyed a branch fortress, fought against the three generals, and finally Qian Nujiao retreated completely. Kurla's eyes were dull as she asked in a daze. Yes, that's what the above says. The revolutionary soldier nodded and said truthfully. Our revolutionary army lacks talents like Li Ang. Next, I will issue a task. A smile appeared on Dorig's face, and he immediately became serious. Looking at the many cadres in front of him, he said, take every opportunity to bring Li Ang into our revolutionary army. If you can pull him into our camp, then we don't have to worry about our next actions. It's almost twice the result with half the effort. Even if we can't absorb him into the revolutionary army, we must befriend him, understand? Understood. Everyone knew very well that the ability represented by Li Ang quickly nodded and agreed. The Li Ang at this time is far from the Li Ang at that time. Being able to be alone, forcibly shake the three admirals. There are too few people in the world who can achieve such a record. Therefore, the word Li Ang, in the hearts of everyone, has also risen to a terrifying level. Chapter 086-Naval Dilemma. Naval Headquarters, Marin Vando. Office of the Marshal. Sengoku looked gloomy and looked at the three of Akainu. In such a large office, the atmosphere became extremely depressing. You said, the three of you joined forces, or let this guy Li Ang destroy the G4 branch. Even, in the end, you can't keep him. The corners of Warring State's mouth moved slightly, and his voice was low. He couldn't believe it. If Akainu hadn't told him at the same time, he would never have believed it. 3 generals were dispatched, unable to keep a pirate. This pirate is not yet the 4th emperor. If it is the 4th emperor, he thinks it is excusable. But the problem is that Li Ang is not the 4 emperors, but a pirate who has only recently appeared in the sea and escaped from the advanced city without too many criminal records. It is such a pirate that the Navy headquarters has been repeatedly shrunk. It is naturally impossible for the warring states to say that he is not angry. At first, he thought that Li Ang would be at the mercy, but now, it was Li Ang's turn to fight back violently. In one move, a branch fortress was destroyed. What the warring states are worried about now is that Li Ang will continue to cause chaos. In this way, wouldn't the 3 generals of the Navy headquarters be prepared to deal with Li Ang all the time? The other 963 things are simply too late to take into account. This is something that warring states never wanted to see. As the top combat power of the Navy headquarters, the 3 generals cannot be dispatched all the time. Yes. Akainu's face was heavy, but he nodded and said. Not keeping Li Ang was the dereliction of the 3 of them, and there would be no reason to cover up their faults. The G4 branch has been destroyed. For so many years, such a bold thing has not happened for a long time. Li Ang, this guy. Warring State's eyes with a touch of cold light, the throat rolled, and said in a low voice. Except when the Golden Lion came to the Navy headquarters, fought against them, and even nearly destroyed Marin Vando, this kind of blatant provocation of the Navy headquarters has rarely occurred. However, just today, Li Ang did it. Even the sea is a terrifying event that will boil over. Openly challenge the majesty of the Navy headquarters, and, in the end, retreated completely. This battle, the Navy headquarters, was completely defeated. In front of Li Ang, the naval headquarters didn't even have the dignity it should have. Marshal, what shall we do next? The chaotic sea. Aokiji cares about what's next. Li Ang's destruction of the G4 branch not only directly had a huge impact on the naval headquarters. Indirectly, it will also make many pirates ignore the majesty of the naval headquarters. In this way, many pirates do things more recklessly. At that time, it is not impossible to openly attack the naval branches stationed in various regions. Hearing Aokiji's words, Sengoku fell silent. Method. If there was a way, he wouldn't have to frown. Evaluate with ease. If you must kill Liang, how much will it cost, do you think? Warring States looked at the three of them and asked in a deep voice. This. Akainu's lips moved slightly, unable to speak. Since Liang escaped from the hands of the three of them, they stopped thinking about this issue. Because, it's just a matter of wasting time. Kill Liang. Do not make jokes. If Liang could escape from the palms of the three of them, it would be impossible for him to be killed by any one of them. Chapter 086_ The Navy's Dilemma. Please customize it. If Liang could escape from the palms of the three of them, it would be impossible for him to be killed by any one of them. Huang Yuan said, it is not impossible to kill him. Well. Aokiji and Akainu couldn't help but look at Kizaru, a little suspicious. The three of them all knew that Liang's terrifying strength would only take advantage of them when the opponent was weak. Otherwise, it is very unrealistic to want to kill Liang. It seems that the yellow monkey has a countermeasure. Tell me about it. The Warring States looked at Kizaru and asked. In the sight of the three people, Kizaru said, if you want to kill him, you must wait for him to be weak. Then, dispatch the three generals, plus you and Lieutenant General Garp. I think, it should be worse. No ACEF much. Quote. Silence. The Warring States period was stunned, but he didn't expect that Huang Yuan gave Liang such a high evaluation. When he was weak, three generals had to take action, and he had to join Capo to kill Liang. Not to mention Liang. With such a terrifying combat power, even in the face of a four emperors in their heyday, they are sure to kill one of them. Listening to Kizaru's words, feelings, Liang is harder to kill than the four emperors. And let me finish. Kizaru said again, Liang's speed is terrifying, even worse than mine. This is something the four emperors do not possess, and it is also the most difficult part of him. It is difficult for us to catch his shadow, but he is very easy. We can catch our vacancies. Quote. If we have to protect a certain naval branch, or protect a certain person, Liang can do it completely and kill people under our protection. This is his terrifying speed. The speed is terrifying, as well as swordsmanship, armament, and so on. These have reached the top field. In my opinion, his armament is even stronger than Lieutenant General Karp. Quote. After Kizaru said something, Sengoku secretly took a deep breath. This is simply to judge the problem from the perspective of putting Liang above the four emperors. Even killing one of the four emperors was not as troublesome as killing Liang. However, what Huang Yuan said was indeed reasonable. Liang possessed a variety of extreme abilities, which annoyed them so much that they were still unable to get along and solve the current solution. The three generals, plus me and Karp, have to take advantage of his weakness. Warring States thought to himself, with a wry smile on the corner of his mouth. If you really want to use so much power, it is simply unrealistic. It is impossible for them to use such great power and price in order to kill Liang alone. Even when Liang is weak. Who knows when Liang is weak? This is a whimsical thing. In other words, in the end, you still have no choice. The corners of the Warring States' mouth moved slightly, and he said with a sigh. The Navy headquarters encountered an unprecedented dilemma. How to handle the relationship with Liang, this is a troublesome matter. Even in the Warring States period, they dare not give orders at will. I originally thought that Liang was just a little capable pirate, but I never thought that Liang was more than just a little capable, and he was simply capable. So much so that the three generals could not keep Liang. Knowing this news, the Warring States period had to re-examine Liang. How to respond to the matter of destroying the G4 branch is also a big problem. Want to get revenge on Liang? If you really want to retaliate against Liang, what kind of strategy will you adopt instead? It's definitely not advisable to hit hard. It is impossible for the Navy headquarters to confront a terrifying figure like Liang head-on. At this time. Boo boo. The phone bug on the corner of the desktop made a sound. Chapter-87 The Wrath of the World Government. At this time, who will look for me? Warring States frowned, picked up the phone bug, and asked, I'm Warring States. Warring States, who is Liang? The voice on the opposite side carries a strong majesty, even in the face of the Warring States period. It is not inferior, and even has a high-level scrutiny tone. 5 old stars. Sengoku's pupils shrank. He took a deep breath, calmed his mood, and said, Liang, the prisoner who escaped from the advanced city recently. Is that all? Wu Laoxing's words are obviously angry. Obviously, they have received a lot of news from the sea. I originally thought that Liang was just a small character. But looking at it now, where is this small role? It can shake the foundation of the world government. He also destroyed the G4 naval branch. Our naval headquarters will never let him go. Sengoku's face was calm, and he continued. Although the 5 old stars are his high level, he is not afraid. It's a big deal. Stop slapping the table. What about these? Do you know that the sea has been in chaos recently? Countless pirates have even attacked the army of our world government. All this is because of the incompetence of your navy. The 3 admirals of your navy have already started, but you still can't keep him. The whole sea has already learned about this matter. Those pirates are already ready to move. This time, because of your incompetence, they have launched a frantic attack on us. You say, who will take this responsibility? The 5 old stars made it clear that they were looking for trouble in the Warring States period and asked. Across the phone, the Warring States period could hear the endless anger contained in the words of the 5 old stars. Don't worry, I will give you an explanation. Sengoku's expression remained unchanged, and he continued. At the same time, the pressure in his heart continued to increase. Originally, the pressure was already very heavy. At this moment, the 5 old stars still came to question, which made him feel even more pressure. Coupled with Liang's own terrifying strength, many problems are superimposed, and the Warring States period has nothing to do. He can only deal with the 5 old stars casually. Explain. If you can explain it to me, the 3 generals will not be able to let him escape, nor will it bring so much trouble to the current world government. The most ridiculous thing is that there were still people watching the battle and even taking pictures of the battle, but you didn't realize it at all. How did you do things? In addition to your improper strategy, the 3 generals also have inescapable responsibilities. The 5 old stars opened their mouths one after another, and they continued to curse. I know that I will take some actions below to make up for this mistake, please rest assured. Also, Liang is not as simple as you said. If it's that simple, the 3 generals won't miss out. The Warring States' tone was very firm and bluntly said. Liang's strength was beyond his biggest expectations. No one could have imagined that Liang could forcibly shake the joint attack of the 3 generals, and finally left calmly. This is the most terrifying thing. According to such changes in the situation, I am afraid that even if the Warring States want to capture Liang and send him to the advanced city, it is just a thought, and it is impossible to achieve. I don't care what method you use. All in all, I want to see the effect within 7 days. If the sea is still so chaotic after 7 days, then I can only remove you from the position of marshal. Wu Laoxing said the last paragraph and hung up the phone bug. Warring States held the phone bug. His face was calm. He quietly put the phone bug back, without saying a word. There was silence in the office. Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru didn't dare to say a word. This incident has alarmed the world government. Next, if they can't deal with Liang, or even calm down the turmoil in the sea, then the majesty of their naval headquarters will be dispensable. Marshal, it's too difficult to catch Liang. Although he knew that the situation was not right, Aokiji still insisted on his own ideas. He had played against Liang, and he was more aware of the opponent's terrifying strength. The naval headquarters wanted to arrest Li Yang, which was wishful thinking. Chapter-87 The Wrath of the World Government. Please customize it. The naval headquarters wanted to arrest Li Yang, which was wishful thinking. Unless you can integrate all the forces that can be used, there may be a chance. As for waiting until Li Yang is weak, to take advantage of it. It's just their beautiful fantasy. How could someone as terrifying as Li Yang be weak? I know. The tone of the warring states was a little heavy. This was a fact in front of him, and he had no choice but to admit it. Li Yang's strength is indeed terrifying, as everyone knows. As a marshal, he naturally has to consider many things and find a strategy to deal with Li Yang. The three of us, besieging Li Yang, are impossible to catch him. 0 flowers 0. Even the arrogant Akainu had to admit that Li Yang was indeed stronger than him. Fighting alone, any of the three generals may be killed by Li Yang. If it can't be captured, then choose to reconcile. However, he has already destroyed the G4 branch. This is to start a full-scale war with the Navy. How can we easily tolerate it? Warring States rubbed his temples, his face full of helplessness. Reconciliation. There is no reconciliation. At least, reconciliation is currently impossible. The reconciliation means that their Navy headquarters has softened to a pirate like Li Yang. But if there is no reconciliation, what method should be used to deal with Li Yang? If Li Yang has relatives, he can take advantage of them. 0. However, Li Yang is alone, and this is the most important thing. Alone, with incomparably terrifying power, no one can care about him, let alone find his weakness. It is simply an all-around, terrifying enemy with no weaknesses. Raise his bounty first. Warring States said slowly, adjust his bounty to 1 billion bellies. No opinion, his strength and sin are obviously higher than this bounty. Even, it is normal to be on par with the 4 emperors. The 3 generals expressed their opinions one after another, their faces full of frustration. In the end, they still didn't come to a conclusion. How to deal with Li Yang, there is still no accurate plan. You guys go out and let me think about it. The warring states looked at the 3 generals and said helplessly. Yes, Marshal of the Warring States period. The 3 generals nodded and left immediately. Warring States was the only one left in the huge office, thinking alone, frowning, unable to think of a suitable way to deal with it. Damn Li Yang. Warring States was full of anger and cursed loudly. But he also had a trace of remorse. If I had known that Li Yang was so strong, he would not have to plot against the other party. It's good now, not only did it fail to achieve the original purpose, but also made myself a mess, and I couldn't wash it even if I wanted to. However, he didn't know. Another thing that made the Navy headquarters turbulent again is happening quietly. Chapter-88 A group of fans. Great Fairway, Rhinetown. Sunny. The streets are crowded and lively. A group of pirates are blatantly walking down the street. Boss, is it really good that we don't hide our identities? Afraid of an egg, does the Navy dare to do anything to us? Under the shock of Lord Li Yang, they still have to be human with their butts on their backs. If I tell you, Lord Li Yang really gave us a bad breath for our pirates. No, the sea has been buzzing recently, and the Navy headquarters has not even shown any signs of doing anything to Lord Li Yang. It's just too funny. It's very exciting to see a terrifying existence that can suppress the Navy headquarters. Quote. A group of pirates laughed and talked, without any scruples to the surrounding pedestrians. The naval branch stationed in the town was also directly ignored by them. Under such circumstances, the Navy headquarters themselves are so annoyed with, May 37 inches, and will they take the initiative to provoke them? Therefore, after Li Yang destroyed the G4 branch, he gave countless pirates a lot of confidence. So much so that they don't even care about the Navy. Not only one pirate group, but many countless pirate groups all have confidence in the Navy, which makes the Navy a little scared. The number of pirates is many times greater than that of the Navy. In the past, when the pirates saw the Navy, they took a detour. That was because the pirates' power did not condense together, and the pirates who were killed by the Navy were defeated one by one. At this moment, because of Li Ang's actions, many pirates maintain a united front and land on the island town without fear. A large group of pirates landed on the island at the same time. How dare the Navy act rashly? If one pirate group is captured now, it will cause the siege of other pirate groups. The Navy guarding an island has not dared to provoke public anger. Even if the pirates pass by, they will turn a blind eye. Therefore, Li Ang brought a new future to many pirates. Originally, pirates were like mice crossing the street, and everyone shouted and beat them. But now, the pirates can walk on the streets of the town openly and honestly. This is all brought by Li Ang. If there is no Li Ang and the three generals, how dare they be so daring? The root cause of all this is Li Ang, so Li Ang has deservedly become the object of worship of many pirates, and the meaning of worship is endless. At this time, at the end of the street, the figure of a young man gradually walked into the lively street market. This person is Li Ang, who left the G4 branch. Navy headquarters. You guys, you won't be peaceful, don't worry. Li Ang's eyes narrowed slightly, and the corner of his mouth raised an arc, said. Immediately, he glanced at the many buildings in front of him, found a direction, and rushed to the same goal. What he was looking for was a newspaper. Why look for newspapers? This question can be revealed. The struggle between Li Ang and the Navy headquarters is far from over. I see. Li Ang's speed was gentle, passing through the crowd. There seemed to be a terrifying force on the surface, squeezing out all the people around him, and he couldn't get close to him at all. The group of pirates who were talking about was right next to Li Ang. And Li Ang happened to pass by this group of pirates. I can still vaguely hear the words these pirates are talking about. What 4 emperors? In front of Lord Li Ang, what are the 4 emperors? That's right, Mr. Li Ang is the belief of our pirates. With one person alone, who would dare to declare war on the naval headquarters, who would do it? Even the 4 emperors would not dare to make such moves. Quote. Chapter-88-more fans. Quote. Are you talking about me? With a smile on his face, Li Ang paused for a while. Didn't expect that his popularity was already so high. It has become the belief of pirates. However, he didn't care much about these things. As for the so-called pirate belief, it has little to do with him. He didn't deal with the Navy for the sake of the pirates, he just declared war on the Navy headquarters for himself. It's just weird, the Navy headquarters shouldn't have treated him as a soft persimmon, and now, want to get out. That makes it even harder. Li Ang quickened his pace and disappeared into the street in a blink of an eye, leaving an afterimage behind. After he left, among the group of pirates, there were only a few young pirates who were a little suspicious. They looked at the direction that Li Ang left just now and rubbed their eyes. I always feel that the back of that person just now is a little familiar. Several people looked at each other and said in unison. Wait. A pirate lost his voice. I remembered. He. Who is he? Are you so excited? The rest of the people looked surprised. Li Ang. The pirate swallowed and said quickly, he is Li Ang, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that back. He must be Li Ang himself, I can't see it wrong. What? Many pirates were shocked. Lord Li Ang passed by us and we didn't notice it. I'm so sorry, this is my idol. Lord Li Ang passed by me, and I actually missed the chance to discover him. It's so uncomfortable. But then again, what is Master Li Ang here for? Isn't it possible to do something with the naval branch here? But it's unlikely. The naval branch here is too small, and we don't like it. How can Master Li Ang like it? Quote. A group of pirates looked remorseful and started talking. 1 past 10, 10 past 100. Suddenly, the news of Liang in this town swept the whole town in an instant. Let everyone know that the most terrifying big man recently came to this town. Countless pirates were boiling over it, and those civilians were very frightened. Everyone has a different mood. Some pirates even frantically search for Liang, looking for Liang, and want to join Liang's work. What? Liang appeared here. My God, what's going to happen again? Liang's 5.0 people are all here, which means that there is another thing that is going to sweep the entire sea. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it more and more now. What does Mr. Liang want to do? If it is to deal with the Navy headquarters, I will contribute my strength. Quote. Pirates rarely stand on the same front. And the reason for all this is because of Liang, the picture that appears. Without Liang, the pirates would not be able to have this kind of cohesion, nor would they be able to form a group. And this time, Liang had already arrived at a newspaper, and he didn't pay attention to the rumors from the outside world, and he didn't care too much. Navy headquarters, what will you do next? Liang raised his head, looked at the newspapers and magazines in front of him, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and he said with a faint smile. Chapter-81-100 declared war Navy headquarters. Rhinetown. In a house that prints newspapers. Liang sat on the sofa, looked at the terrified old man in front of him, and smiled lightly. Don't worry, sit down, I won't eat you, why are you so nervous? Lord Liang, do you have anything to do with me? The old man's face was full of tension, and the corners of his mouth were trembling. No way, Liang's reputation is too loud. This made him not dare to show an arrogant look in front of Liang. If he angered Liang, I am afraid that his life would be lost. In front of Liang, no one could save him. Even if the three generals arrive, they cannot save him. But at the moment, it seems that Liang didn't want to kill him, which made him a little relieved, and he thought bitterly, how can a person of this level be difficult for a small person like me? I am self-indulgent. I came to you just for one thing. Liang gave birth to a finger and smiled lightly. It is my blessing to be able to do things for Lord Liang. I will definitely do it for you. I don't know, Lord Liang, what do you want me to do? The old man patted his chest and asked tentatively. O3, help me print multiple messages, I'm going to announce a message to the whole world. Liang's mouth moved slightly and said bluntly. This news is the beginning of his declaration of war on the Navy headquarters. He would like to know, will the Navy headquarters be resigned? If it is soft, it will be too boring. Sir, please say it, and I will record it. The old man said quickly, not daring to neglect. Yan said, Liang, next, in 3 days, I will start the G3 branch of the Navy. Liang's face was calm and he said directly. Silence. The old man was stunned, unable to believe what he heard in his ears. On the G3 branch. Moreover, it is still blatant, and even announced to the whole world, threatening to attack the G3 branch. This is not a trivial matter, but a big shock to declare war with the Navy headquarters, and even the world government. After all, the Navy headquarters certainly cannot sit idly by. At this time, if Liang persists, he will usher in a large-scale collision with the Navy headquarters. My God! The old man's lips trembled, his face was full of horror, and the whole person was shocked by the news. Can it be done? Liang asked without waiting for the old man to come back to his senses, leaning back on the sofa. Yes, it can be done. The old man nodded and replied hurriedly. He didn't want to arouse Liang's dissatisfaction. The other party killed him as simple as pinching an ant. Then this matter, I will leave it to you. If I don't know about the news of me spreading at sea in the next day, then you don't have to exist in this world. Liang stood up, patted the old man on the shoulder, and smiled. Yes, please rest assured, Mr. Liang, we will do it properly for you, and there will never be any mistakes. You can rest assured. The old man kept nodding his head in fear. His heart was about to jump out. The conversation with Li Ang exhausted the courage of his life. What's here? Let's take it as a reward. Li Ang took out a small bag from his arms, threw it to the old man, and said indifferently, I do things, but I don't like to owe other people's things. It's yours, I won't forcefully buy or sell. Chapter-81-100 declared war naval headquarters. Li Ang took out a small bag from his arms, threw it to the old man, and said indifferently, I do things, but I don't like to owe other people's things. It's yours, I won't forcefully buy or sell. My lord, I can't. The old man was even more frightened. The hands that caught the small bag kept shaking, his legs were weak, and he was almost kneeling on the ground. You deserve it, don't let it go. I said you can take it, and no one dares to take it back. I do things and don't like to default, do you understand? Li Ang took a deep look at the old man and said calmly. Immediately, the old man did not dare to say anything, but his hands were still trembling, a trembling of nervousness and fear. I'm afraid, even if Li Ang insists on giving him this bag of treasure, he will not dare to use it from now on. But anyway, Li Ang gave him the reward, so he could feel at ease. As for whether the old man can use it, it has little to do with him. Don't you open it and see. Count, is it enough? Li Ang said again. Immediately, according to Li Ang's words, the old man opened the small bag and took a look. I see. There are a lot of colorful gems in it, almost blinding his old eyes. His lips moved slightly. Sir, there are too many, I really don't need too much. You take it, anyway, I just took it from the hands of a pirate group. Li Ang made a move, walked to the gate, and said again, remember, this matter is done. I hope that in a day's time, what I said will be spread throughout the sea. Really? The gems in this small bag were plundered by Li Ang from a pirate group. As for the result of that one pirate group, naturally, it was destroyed by Li Ang, and now it must have sunk to the bottom of the sea. Pirates do not represent evil, but they also do not represent good. In any profession, there are good and bad. Li Ang won't naively think that the Navy headquarters represents justice, but he also won't think that pirates represent justice. It just depends on what one thinks. The existence of the Navy is still valuable. It's just that Li Ang is about to start now. He is looking forward to how the Navy headquarters will respond to his news. Is it to send all the combat power to confront him head-on? If this is the case, press can be more and more people looking forward to the 940. Don't worry, my lord, if I can't do it, my life will be yours. The old man immediately assured, his tone was full of affirmation. It's such a trivial matter. For a veteran like him, it only takes half a day to make a piece of news spread wildly on the sea. Of course, it also depends on the weight of the news. If it's the explosive kind, you don't even need half a day. And now, this news given by Li Ang will definitely bring an explosive shock to the sea. Li Ang, we are going to declare war with the Navy headquarters. What else is enough to shake this news? I'm afraid, it doesn't exist at all. When this piece of news was sent out, the old man could predict that the sea would once again set off waves of turbulence. The Navy headquarters, the Revolutionary Army, the world government, the pirates, everyone, will pay close attention to this news. Subsequently, Li Ang left quickly and disappeared from the eyes of the old man, leaving only an afterimage that gradually disappeared into the air. Seeing Li Ang leave, the old man took a deep breath, and after putting away the small bag in his hand, he immediately ordered the staff to print it, making sure to hurry up and spread Li Ang's words to the entire sea area. Less than an hour. One seagull, flying above the sky, to every part of the sea. Chapter-090 Doflamingo's plan, please customize it. New World, Dressrosa. Here is the kingdom ruled by Doflamingo, one of the 7 seas under the king. In this place, Doflamingo is the absolute king tilde. King's Heights. The recent uproar. Li Ang, who can shake the 3 generals, deserves our cooperation. Doflamingo's expression changed and he said, if he can win over Liang and cooperate with him, then his business will become bigger and bigger in the future, and even the four emperors will not dare to act rashly. After all, this is a real fierce man, who can't even shake the three generals. Even in the eyes of the four emperors, this kind of terrifying figure is very important. Today, Doflamingo is missing a figure who can compete with the four emperors. If he really succeeded in winning over Liang, he would have more confidence to bargain with Kaido in the future, and he would not have to worry that Kaido, a lunatic, would go back on his word. Right now, his own individual strength is still too weak, and he ranks among the best in the 7 martial seas, but if he is compared with the 4 emperors, it is simply incomparable. The 4 emperors can do it completely, kill Doflamingo. The young master is right, but that monster, I'm afraid we can't easily pull him into the team. The rest of the family members looked sad and said. They did represent supreme power in Dressrosa, but in front of Liang, they had to put away their arrogance. Liang alone is more terrifying than their entire family. Even if their entire family is dispatched, they cannot be compared with the 3 generals. But Liang did it, alone, shaking the 3 generals. With such a terrifying combat power, even their group of notorious pirates are terrified. At this point, I have decided that half of the benefits can be allocated to him. Doflamingo took a deep breath and said. Half of the interests are enough to represent how much Doflamingo values Liang. Liang doesn't need to do anything to get half of the benefits. And all the things before and after are all done by Doflamingo himself, and he needs to allocate a part to the family members in the end. In the end, even Liang got less. But this was also voluntary by Doflamingo. Because if Liang joins this cooperation, Doflamingo will have more confidence to bargain with Kaido and his collaborators. The benefits gained are far higher than today. Young master, isn't it too high to give half the benefit? Toripal looked at Doflamingo strangely and said. Is this still the young master he knew? You know, Doflamingo is a well-known ironcock, and if he wants to share his own interests, there is no door. But here Liang is willing to give up half of his interests. This is very weird. For Liang alone, it's worth it. Doflamingo nodded solemnly and said. He is now more and more aware of the benefits of strength. Young master, there is something important to report. A young man walked in anxiously and said. What's the matter? The rest of the family members spoke up. Doflamingo looked at the young man, expressionless. It's about Liang. Chapter-90-Doflamingo's plan, please customize it. It's about Liang. The young man held a piece of paper and said quickly. Liang, it's him again, what big move is he going to make? Everyone's faces were full of surprise. Recently, the frequency they heard the word Liang was simply too high. How long has it been, and there is news about Liang? What do you mean? Doflamingo frowned and asked. Young master, look. The young man hands the paper to Doflamingo. Afterwards, Doflamingo quickly read on the paper, his pupils shrank, and even he was deeply shocked, and was speechless for a while. Young master, what's the news? Toripal asked. Liang, we are going to challenge the Navy headquarters. Doflamingo took a deep breath, this was something he couldn't even imagine. Alone, he actually blatantly announced that in 3 days, he would attack the G3 naval branch. This time, the Navy headquarters would definitely not sit idly by. It is very likely that the scene that appears at the end is the head-on collision between Liang and the Navy headquarters. Who is stronger or weaker? No one can tell this. If Liang did not play against the 3 generals, naturally, no one would be optimistic about Liang. 0 katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. But now, Li Ang shook the three generals abruptly, and finally left calmly, which represented his personal strength, which was quite terrifying. What? Torapal and the rest of the family were shocked. He threatened to destroy the G3 naval branch in 3 days. Now this news, I believe, has been known to everyone at sea, and even the New World. Doflamingo's mouth moved slightly, his tone inexplicable, said. Openly challenge the Navy headquarters. My God, Li Ang is too scary. But then again, Li Ang, can we win? It's hard to say, his courage is really too big. Even the fourth emperor would not dare to do this. This is to completely regard the majesty of the naval headquarters as nothing. At that time, the world government may not be able to take action. It is impossible for them to let Li Ang challenge the majesty of the naval headquarters one after another. Quote. There was a lot of talk, but there was only one word in their hearts to describe Li Ang's actions. Clothes. They really took it. Apart from Li Ang, who else would dare to do such a maddening thing? I'm afraid, even if someone does, they will only think that the other party is a fool. But this happened to Li Ang, and the result was completely different. Because Li Ang has this strength to challenge the Navy headquarters. There are not many people in this world who can retreat from the joint siege of the three generals. However, Li Ang was one of them, and he dared to say such arrogant words. He did things that even I didn't dare to do. However, it was really interesting. This time, I'm afraid it will cause huge turmoil. If Li Ang can get out of his body this time, then I must reach a cooperation with him at all costs. Even if I completely share 2/3 of his interests, so what? Doflamingo's eyes twinkled brightly, and he let out a rhetoric. Having such a cooperative ally made him feel very safe. Even when his affairs in Dressrosa were exposed and the world government deprived him of his Shichibukai position, he was not afraid. As long as he has such a cooperative ally as Li Ang, he can continue to do his own business without worrying about being threatened by others. Chapter-81-100 The four emperors were shocked. New World. Moby Dick, sailing in this sea. Wherever they passed, no pirate ship dared to block the way. The majesty of Whitebeard still shrouded the sky of the New World. Although, he is old. At this time, on the Moby Dick, Whitebeard was sitting in a huge chair, with infusion tubes tied all over his body and a breathing mask, but he was still full of a sense of majesty. Dad, this is incredible. That monster named Li Ang is about to openly challenge the Navy headquarters. It's crazy. Marco's face was full of shock, holding a piece of paper that fell from the corner of the seagull's mouth, and said bluntly. On the boat, the rest of the captains also expressed their inner shock. Li Ang's actions, even they, I'm afraid they wouldn't dare to do it. When Whitebeard wanted to do such a thing, he had to think for a while. But Li Ang, 670, without any nervousness, directly announced that he would fight with the Navy headquarters. Such a move is not a lunatic, what is it? The New World is boiling over the latest news from Li Ang. All the pirates were excited, looking forward to the scene 3 days later. Is it Li Ang? Whitebeard also held a piece of paper in his hand. With a smile, he laughed. In this era, it will not be too stable. This will make it more interesting, right? Now, it's the Navy headquarters' turn to have a headache. I can already predict that the face of this guy in the Warring States period is definitely more bitter than the bitter gourd. Li Ang declared war with the Navy headquarters, which makes it impossible for him to avoid fighting without fighting. If the Navy headquarters admits its counsel, there will be no place for the Navy headquarters in this sea. There will be no pirates, and there will be no fear of the Navy. Whitebeard's remarks also completely recognize the character of Li Ang. Li Ang's strength, I'm afraid, is a bit stronger than my peak period. Whitebeard pondered for a moment and said slowly. However, he would not be afraid. No matter how strong the opponent is, he can't arouse his cowardice. Dad, is he stronger than you were in your prime? Marco and the others were shocked. On the whole ship, Ace was no longer there, and he went to chase Blackbeard Titch. As for the consequences, nobody knows. Yeah, that's why he is a monster. At such an age, he has the power that I didn't have in my prime. If I continue to grow in the future, I can't believe what a terrifying character he will become. Whitebeard nodded, his face serious, and he laughed. The busier the sea, the happier he was. If the sea is no longer lively, what adventure is there to talk about? Although Whitebeard's wish is to have a family, the spirit of adventure can never leave his heart, but, relatively speaking, family is more important to him. The captain of the 3rd Division, Diamond Yoja, also showed a bit of shock. Dad, how terrifying is someone stronger than you? In this battle, who is stronger and who is weaker? It's hard to say, there are a lot of them in the Warring States period. Although there is only one person on the opposite side, it is an out-and-out monster. Who knows what cards he has? Let's start this battle in 5 or 5. Whitebeard looked into the distance with his eyes and said slowly. Dad, do we want to go watch the fight? Marco asked with a smile. Watching the game. If we go to watch the game, this guy in the Warring States will really be scared to the ground. Whitebeard laughed and shook his head. Li Ang alone is enough to make the naval headquarters stand ready. If there are a few more of the 4 emperors, then the battle will be less interesting. The navy headquarters may ignore the 4 emperors, and their battle with Li Ang will naturally weaken a lot of power. In this way, Li Ang's winning rate will skyrocket. It's a pity that I couldn't watch the battle with my own eyes. Marco waved his hand with a helpless expression on his face and said. Chapter-81-100 The 4 emperors are shocked. Marco waved his hand with a helpless expression on his face and said. A certain desert island in the New World. In a splendid palace. The smell of desserts is everywhere, and the smell in the air brings a strong sweetness. In the house ahead. A huge figure is looking at the huge dessert cake with greedy eyes. I want more desserts, I want more desserts. Name is Charlotte Lingling. One of the 4 emperors, captain of the Big Mom Pirates. The head of the 3 dessert stars, Charlotte Katakuri walked in front of Charlotte Lingling, knelt down on one knee, and said, Mom, recently, a scary figure has appeared on the sea. Oh, is it? Charlotte Lingling showed a funny smile and said. This person is named Li Ang. Even the 3 generals couldn't kill him, and finally let him retreat. Recently, he released another message, threatening to collide with the Navy headquarters. Katakuri also had some lingering fears. Even the arrogant he has to admit that Li Ang has done what he dare not do. Even Charlotte Lingling would not dare to make such a move lightly. Collision with the Navy headquarters. Do you still have the strength that the 3 generals can't do anything about? Charlotte Lingling's eyes showed a bit of excitement and said, if I let him have a child with me, how strong is this child? Mom. Katakuri was frightened into a cold sweat, and quickly said, this idea still can't appear at will. Li Ang is a monster with too strong strength. I'm afraid, if we provoke him, it will bring a big blow away. Well. Charlotte Lingling looked at Katakuri coldly and asked, are you teaching me how to do things? Don't dare. Katakuri shook his head quickly and said. In front of Charlotte Lingling, he is still a courtier. The strength of the 2 sides is also completely unequal. Li Ang, I must get this man, and I must have offspring with him. In this way, this offspring must be very tyrannical. Charlotte Lingling said bluntly with her eyes that could not be concealed. Li Ang's strength has already moved her heart. To this. Katakuri regretted it, he regretted telling his mother the news. If he provokes Li Ang, he knows very well how hard 4.1 will bring to the Big Mom Pirates. The other party doesn't even care about the Navy headquarters, so how could they care about the pirate group, one of the four emperors? Once the two sides collide, the damage caused is naturally irreparable. It's over. Katakori's spine was wet with cold sweat, and his face was full of regret. The other two of the four emperors, the Red Hair Pirates and the 100 Beasts Pirates, also learned about Li Yang's news. Even the four emperors were shocked by this. It is unprecedented for someone to go to the meeting alone and to attack the Navy headquarters. It is equivalent to the scene where the Golden Lion broke into the naval headquarters alone decades ago. However, today's Li Yang is even more terrifying than the Golden Lion's strength. Chapter-82-100 The Fifth Emperor of the New World. In the New World, this sea, the news of Li Yang was completely detonated. Countless pirates have spread speculation. Li Yang is going to attack the Navy headquarters. If the Navy headquarters avoids fighting, then they are just soft-footed shrimp, and we don't have to be afraid of them in the future. That's right, Li Yang did what we've been thinking about, but didn't dare to do. He's really a genius. And, what's scary is that, maybe, he really has this strength. Even the three generals can't help Li Yang. This time, people are really looking forward to the collision between the two. Unprecedented, the most terrifying battle is about to break out in recent years. The islands, because of the paper left by the seagulls in the sky, make everyone boil. Countless civilians were also shocked. Oh my God, pirates are going to defy the majesty of the Navy. The point is, this is just the words of a pirate. For a pirate, it is terrifying and outrageous to compete with the huge naval headquarters. I personally still think that the Navy headquarters will definitely win. If one pirate destroys the Navy headquarters, then the Navy has no meaning to exist. Civilians were also shocked by the battle. Li Yang alone challenged the Navy headquarters. This piece of news swept the entire sea. Great Fairway, Daughter's Island. Royal Palace. Known as the first beauty of mankind, one of the king's 7 Wuhai, the female Emperor Hancock, lives in the palace. At the same time, she also received news from the sea for the first time. Is it Li Yang? Hancock sat on the soft chair. Maimu was a little surprised. The actions of this man have always shocked her deeply. One after another, make some terrible moves. In particular, challenging the Navy headquarters on her own is what she thinks is the courage a man should have. Such a man is really intoxicating. Hancock's delicate face showed a bit of crimson, and said slowly. Hancock. The figure of the mother-in-law suddenly appeared, interrupting Hancock's words and saying, there is going to be a big movement in the sea. During this time, our island absolutely prohibits outsiders. Also, you can't go out at will. How can an old woman like you be able to do things in Aegea? Hancock raised his head arrogantly, and his beautiful face was intoxicating. There are countless islands in the Great Waterway, and news of Li Yang is circulating. The Magic Triangle, the Horror Bark. In the castle. Perona is holding the paper in her hand, showing a hint of worry. The Lord is alone, challenging the Navy headquarters. Can you win? If you are caught, what will you do? Perona, don't worry. Moonlight Moria smiled calmly, with unprecedented confidence in his eyes, and said, Lord Li Yang, he will not be defeated. Even the 3 generals can't keep him. Even if it is the Navy headquarters, no matter how bad it is, Lord Li Yang can still take care of him. And retreat. That's right, the power of the adults is monstrous. Hogbach and Absalom nodded quickly and said. For Li Yang's strength, the two of them still have great confidence in their hearts. However, the strength of the naval headquarters should not be underestimated. It's hard to say what the outcome will be. Everything has to wait for the arrival of the final battle. However, they were still very shocked by Li Yang's actions. Alone, not only destroyed the G4 branch, but even threatened to destroy the G3 branch in 3 days, which is clearly to confront the naval headquarters. Chapter 092 _ The Fifth Emperor of the New World. and GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. Alone, not only destroyed the G4 branch, but even threatened to destroy the G3 branch in 3 days, which is clearly to confront the naval headquarters. In this case, unless either side is absent, a battle of the century is inevitable. But will Liang hold back? Non-existent. And the Navy headquarters, in this situation, did not allow them to back down. If they shrink back, they will be soft, and the pirates of the sea will be more reckless against the Navy. At that time, the Navy, in name only. What's more, the world government will never allow the naval headquarters to avoid fighting. Lord Liang's strength is far beyond our imagination. Every time, the adults will give us a huge shock, and this time, it will be no exception. Hogbok said with a serious expression. When he first met Liang, he thought Liang was an ordinary person. Then, Liang almost wiped out Moonlight Maria. He also thought that Liang's strength was terrifying, but he didn't think that it could shake the naval headquarters. Until the news of the battle between Liang and the 3 generals came out. Only then did he deeply understand that all along, everyone underestimated Liang's strength. Even they are no exception. Looking forward, that war will have a huge impact on this sea area. However, it is not good for the people of the Navy headquarters to provoke others, but they have to provoke Lord Liang, and they deserve to be affected by today's Lord Liang. Attack. Absalom said with a face full of schadenfreude. At the same time, in the New World, another discussion has spread. Liang was able to shake the 3 generals by himself, which proved his terrifying strength. Now, alone again, he has declared war on the naval headquarters. All kinds of actions make people have no doubts that he already has the power level of the 4 emperors. It's just that there is no huge strength to support it. Some people began to say, Liang, sooner or later, he will enter the New World. At that time, the pattern of the New World will inevitably change. Will there be a 5th emperor? I think it should be everyone. Everyone knows that. Quote, if, in this battle, Liang can retreat completely, then he has the strength level of the 4 emperors, and the 5th emperor, I'm afraid, will also appear. Will the rest of the 4 emperors crowd out Liang? But, can they really crowd out Liang? You know, Liang's 970 strength is not even considered by the Navy headquarters. Quote. The existing pirates have placed Liang at the height of the 4 emperors. Even more people said some words directly. It is said that Liang will become the 5th emperor of the New World. These words spread out, and the New World immediately boiled over. The scary thing is that the 4 emperors didn't make much noise for this, that is, they didn't want to face Liang directly. In this way, depending on this battle, Liang can survive. 4 emperors, there is no news, they have no objection. It's terrible, Liang will become the 5th emperor of the New World. The New World will no longer be 4 emperors, but 5 emperors. Liang alone represents an emperor, extremely terrifying. Countless people were boiling over it, waiting for a big battle 3 days later. This war has attracted much attention, and the whole world is watching. Whether it is the Great Waterway, the 4 sea areas such as the East China Sea, or the New World, they will all focus on Liang and the Navy headquarters, waiting for the coming of war. This is bound to be a battle of the century. For many years, there has not been a battle of this level, which has caused countless people to pay close attention. At the same time, the Navy headquarters also held a high-level meeting of the entire Navy in response to this news. Chapter-83-Naval Conference. Naval Headquarters, Marin Vando. In the conference room, there were many high-ranking naval officers. Headed by the Marshal of the Warring States period, followed by 3 generals, Garp, Lieutenant General Crane, Ghost Spider, Huo Shaoshan, etc., but all the lieutenant generals and above of the headquarters are gathered here to discuss matters. Everyone, what do you think of this matter that is circulating in the sea today? Warring States waved his hand, looked at the crowd, and asked. His face was gloomy, and the pressure in his heart was extremely heavy. Li Ang threatened to attack the G3 branch of the Navy, which shows that he did not take the majesty of the Navy headquarters in his eyes. If they did not fight back, how would people in the whole world view the Navy headquarters? This battle is inevitable. As soon as the words of the warring states came out, the whole audience fell into silence, without a word. Since Li Ang escaped from the hands of the three generals, their sense of Li Ang has completely changed. This is a terrifying enemy. How can it be so easy to fight against the three generals by himself? Therefore, when Li Ang said that he wanted to deal with the G3 naval branch, they didn't have a suitable solution in their hearts. Marshal, I think, concentrate all the forces of the naval headquarters and fight him. Lieutenant General Crane looked at the audience, but no one said anything, so she had no choice but to speak. What if he lied? His goal is to lure us all out, leave an empty shell of the Navy headquarters, and then take the opportunity to destroy our Navy headquarters. Or, this is simply a conspiracy of the Revolutionary Army. They just want to use Li Ang's name to mobilize all of us. At that time, the naval headquarters will be vacant, and they can take advantage of it. Warring States frowned. He thought about everything. There are many versions of this matter. What if Li Ang didn't say it himself? That must mean that this is a conspiracy. But no matter how much you think about it now, you can't come to a conclusion. However, in any case, he has to think of measures to deal with. Hearing this, Lieutenant General he was also silent for a moment, without speaking. What the warring states said is extremely true. If this is a conspiracy of the Revolutionary Army, then the naval headquarters will be occupied by the Revolutionary Army in an instant, which is equally serious than the war with Li Ang. What about you guys? Diaresis. Sengoku looked at the rest of the lieutenant generals and asked. Garp snorted and didn't say a word, and he was pretty good at it if he was asked to fight. But if he thinks about these conspiracies, he can only stare. Anyway, his mind is very pure. Whatever warring state says, he can go wherever he wants. As for other things, he was too lazy to think about it. The world government has issued an order, and within 7 days, Li Ang's matter must be resolved. Now, he has spread such huge news, which means that there is not much time left for us. Sengoku said with a heavy tone. The 5 old stars had already given orders, and he couldn't get away. This time, if the 5 old stars are not satisfied, his marshal position will not be guaranteed. But to deal with Li Ang, the price is really too high. Even if the entire Navy headquarters were dispatched, they might not be able to get Li Ang. My personal suggestion is to keep half of the force to defend the naval headquarters to prevent it from being attacked by pirates or the Revolutionary Army. And send the other half of the force to deal with Li Ang. Lieutenant General Huo Shaoshan thought for a while and said. Half the power, how much do you think is appropriate? Warring States asked. The 3 generals, and the 6 lieutenant generals to follow, should be almost the same. Lieutenant General Huo Shaoshan pondered for a moment and replied. Chapter-93-Navy Conference. Lieutenant General Huo Shaoshan pondered for a moment and replied. If it were that simple, then I wouldn't have to call you to a meeting. Warring States shook his head with a wry smile, looked at Huang Yuan, and said, Huang Yuan, please explain to them what you think is the power needed to get rid of Li Ang. The 3 generals, plus Marshal of the Warring States period, Lieutenant General Garp, and, taking advantage of Li Ang's weak state and taking advantage of the emptiness, have a 100% possibility of killing him. Kizaru was expressionless and repeated his previous words. Immediately, the audience fell silent, and there was no sound. Huang Yuan's remarks are too shocking. This is already close, and all the forces of the naval headquarters are dispatched. Moreover, you have to take advantage of Li Ang's weakness to have a 100% chance. If Li Ang is in good condition, isn't it possible that this terrible force can't do anything about it? Really or not? Many lieutenant generals were moved and said suspiciously. His speed is too fast, I can't keep him. If he wants to escape, no one can stop him. In this case, there must be enough top Liang to effectively stop his escape. Kizaru then explained, making everyone feel more and more heart palpitations. Only now did they truly realize Liang's true face. If that's the case, how do we deal with it? If he escapes, we can't do anything. If he attacks suddenly, we won't be able to support him. Now, he declares war with us in an open and honest way, which seems to be the best way for us to deal with it. If he doesn't declare war in the future, and directly attack the Navy, wouldn't we be caught off guard, and even before we can support it, we will be wiped out one by one. Many lieutenants were frightened and said quickly. If Liang attacked suddenly, I am afraid that few people present could stop Liang. At best, Garp and Warring States count as one, and the 3 generals count as half. The rest of the lieutenant generals, no matter how many they are just going to deliver food. Any one of the 3 generals who was placed on an order and met Liang would have to wait to die. I didn't see that the 3 generals besieged Liang, didn't he still let Liang escape easily? Even at that time, there was a war for a long time, and the 3 generals could not help Liang. This is the truth. So, I need your opinion. Coming up with a perfect strategy to deal with Liang is the most important thing for us at the moment. Sengoku said with a calm face. If there is no way, why should he hold a meeting? Liang being alone is the most troublesome thing. Moreover, Liang did not have any kindness in his work. A naval branch would be destroyed if it was destroyed. It would come and go without a trace. The 3 generals Zhao Nuos could not keep each other. In this way, there are very few ways to deal with Liang. Everyone present fell into silence. Karp was lying on the table lazily and sleeping soundly, and he didn't even understand how difficult the Navy headquarters was now. But even if he didn't sleep, he couldn't give any way to make people shine. Sengoku didn't disturb Garp's sleep. Anyway, he didn't expect Karp to give a satisfactory solution. The most likely person to come up with a reasonable solution here is Lieutenant General Crane, known as the think tank of the Navy headquarters. Do you have any ideas? The Warring States looked at Lieutenant General He and asked. If it's just because of the lack of manpower, I have a way to deal with the current predicament perfectly. Moreover, there is no need to worry that the naval headquarters will be vacant and will be suddenly attacked. Lieutenant General Crane had an idea and said slowly. Chapter 094 Summon Chiwahai. Well. Everyone looked at Lieutenant General He, a little curious. How can we deal with the current predicament? Even Warring States couldn't help it and asked, what can I do? Summon Chiwahai. General Crane didn't pause, and directly stated what was in his heart. Hearing this, Sengoku's eyes twinkled, and he blurted out, this is a very good way. The combat power of Chiwahai is finally useful. Letting them fight for the naval headquarters can also effectively alleviate the current predicament. But Marshal, the question is, they are far away, how can they arrive in 3 days? Aokiji frowned slightly and said again. That's true. Sengoku's face gradually became heavy, and he nodded. Chiwahai is not so easy to assemble. Even if they were to rush to the Navy headquarters half a month in advance, it would have to delay for a while. 3 days is too short. At present, there is no other way, but to call them Chiwahai. So, come as many as you can. It is impossible for us to find other ways to deal with it. Lieutenant General Crane continued to speak with a calm expression. That's right, apart from this method, we can't think of any other way to deal with it. We can summon as many Chiwahai as we can. 253 Their combat power cannot be ignored. Warring States nodded solemnly, and immediately issued an order. The order to summon Chiwahai was issued today. If you have Chiwahai, you will have a little more confidence in dealing with Liang. Kizaru's eyes flickered and he said slowly. Only Akainu's face was extremely gloomy, and he was aggrieved but couldn't say a word. Unexpectedly, in the end, the Navy headquarters still asked the pirates to help, which is simply too embarrassing. If possible, Akainu would rather the Shichibukai disappear than the group of pirates to help the Navy headquarters fight, which made him very uncomfortable. But now there is no other way, only summoning Chiwahai is the most crucial thing. Come as much as you can. Only. If the warring states were worried, Chiwahai would go to war with Liang for the Navy headquarters. This is a big problem. If Chiwahai is lazy, I'm afraid that even Liang's clothes will not be touched. Especially Liang is a very terrifying enemy, and whether Chiwahai is willing to take action is also a big question. All in all, the solution is now available, and the time to wait is the arrival of time. Soon. The meeting then dispersed. Sengoku immediately called the phone bug and asked the relevant staff AIDG to practice Kibukai, and let them go to the Navy headquarters at the fastest speed to discuss important matters. At the same time, Daughter Island, the Royal Palace. Hancock also received the order, her beautiful brows furrowed, and her delicate and pretty face was full of doubts. She always felt that it was strange to be anxious about Chiwahai this time. Moreover, her mood is also very unsteady, as if she is about to face a very terrifying thing. Hancock, what did the Navy say? Why did my mother-in-law suddenly appear and asked? Calling Chiwahai, I want to come, it is not unrelated to this matter on the sea. Hancock thought for a moment and said. She is not stupid. It is definitely not a good thing for the Navy headquarters to convene Chiwahai at this juncture. Do you want to use the power of Chiwahai to fight against Liang? The Navy headquarters is really a good plan. The mother-in-law's eyes narrowed, a little worried, and she said, Hancock, you must be careful, don't try too hard. Liang, this monster, is too scary. Even the three generals can't do anything, so don't show the limelight. However, on the surface, we still have to agree to this matter. It's just that in secret, don't take it too seriously. In everything, you must put your own safety first. If you have some losses, Daughter Island, I'm afraid you will face a huge disaster. Chapter 094_Summon Chiwahai. If you have some losses, Daughter Island, I'm afraid you will face a huge disaster. Why is my mother-in-law worried? She said bluntly. Really? If there is an accident in Hancock, Daughter Island will cause huge turmoil. The Navy headquarters did not do anything to the Daughter Island for Hancock's sake as Shichibukai. Moreover, the pirates in the surrounding waters also dared not approach Daughter Island because of Hancock's prestige. If even Hancock is damaged, a group of pirates will be ready to move. Daughter Island will even become a paradise for pirates. My mother-in-law could not imagine such a thing at all. I know. Hancock's pretty face became serious, he tapped his chin lightly, and said. She naturally knew how much influence she had on Daughter Island by herself. ... New World, Dressrosa. Doflamingo himself also received a message from the Navy headquarters. Young master, are we going to do something to Liang? Torapal asked with a puzzled face. Do it to Liang. Brother Doflamingo showed a weird smile, shook his head and said, I'm not impatient anymore, but I'm definitely going to this battle. If possible, by the way, talk to Liang about cooperation. As for the battle, then let the guys from the Navy headquarters think about it. I don't want to confront Liang head-on, and I don't think I have a long life. I will do it in front of this kind of monster, unless my head is sick. Although Doflamingo is arrogant and confident, he also does not think that he has the power to shake Liang. He did not refuse the call of the Navy headquarters, that is because the title of Chiwahai still has a great effect on him. Young master is right, what if you anger the monster Liang? Torapal nodded in approval and said. If you cannot provoke Liang, then it is best not to provoke. This is a terrifying monster that even the Navy headquarters does not take seriously. In the eyes of Liang, the Don Quixote family was nothing but a small family. Even the headquarters of the Navy dared to declare war, so would they be afraid of their small family? I have to admit that if Liang really wants to be the enemy, Doflamingo would not dare to stay here too much, and run wherever he can survive. This battle is very rare. I have to watch the battle no matter what. Doflamingo narrowed his eyes slightly, jumped up, and flew to the sky. He used the ability of the string fruit to achieve high-altitude jumps. His hands and fingers were constantly swaying, the lines were changing, and the whole person was like a flamingo, soaring and flying in the air. From Dressrosa in the New World, return to Marin van Doe of the Great Passage. The distance is not too far. What's more, he is using the ability of the devil fruit to hurry, and it will not take too much time. Within 3 days, it is still possible to arrive at Marin van Doe. This time, Doflamingo did not go for the Navy headquarters, but to find an opportunity to cooperate with Liang before he would participate in this battle. I believe that many Chihuahai must have this mentality to go to war. No one dared to provoke Liang easily. This is a fierce man who can even declare war at the headquarters of the Navy, and a terrifying strong man who is alone. If they offend, maybe they will encounter Liang in the future, and they will be killed by Liang. This day, Shichibukai received summon orders from the Navy headquarters one after another. Hancock, Doflamingo, Hawkeye, and others, invariably rushed to the Navy headquarters. As for their hearts, it is unknown whether they should take this matter seriously. Anyway, people are involved in this battle, and the Navy headquarters can't pick a thorn. And whether they work hard in battle depends on their own mood. Chapter 095 _ The war started. 3 days later. In the past 3 days, the battle between Liang and the Navy headquarters was very popular, and there were bursts of remarks in the entire sea area. Even the world governments have received this message. Liang blatantly challenged the majesty of the naval headquarters, which made the governments of the world feel a deep anger. If the matter is not handled properly this time, then there will be no naval majesty at sea. There will be no one to suppress the rampant pirates, which will greatly affect the structure of the world government, and they will never allow this to happen. Secretly, even the world government is preparing to deal with Liang's plan. Different forces such as the Revolutionary Army, pirates, etc., invariably focus their attention on the sea area of the G3 branch. The G3 branch is located somewhere in the Great Channel. Reputation, and its overall strength is countless times stronger than that of the G4 branch. Why? Here, a naval branch headed by Lieutenant General Garp. That's right. The G3 branch was stationed here by Lieutenant General Garp himself, and its overall strength and military strength in all aspects far surpassed other branches. Therefore, Liang took action on the G3 branch, which means that he will have a head-to-head confrontation with Garp. At that time, it will be the battle scene that people expect to see. At this time, in front of the huge doorway of the G3 branch, a Navy warship kept coming, with 2 generals standing on it, expressionless and without any emotional fluctuations. Aokiji stayed at the naval headquarters, and there were only 2 generals sent here, Akainu and Kizaru. In addition to Sengoku and Garp, there are more or less lieutenants with them. Admiral Crane guards the naval headquarters and cannot be dispatched at the same time as the Warring States period. A total of 2 generals, 2 ancient horror figures, a giant of the same era as One Piece Roger. The Warring States Marshal, the hero Garp, both came to the G3 branch by coincidence. To do something with my branch, this Liang's courage is indeed not small. Garp's eyes narrowed slightly, flashing brightly, and said, "The war is about to kick off, and his state has been adjusted to the extreme. Garp, don't be careless. This is an out-and-out monster, who can shake the 3 generals, how can he be a generalist?" The Warring States period was holding a phone bug, paying close attention to every move here. In the surrounding sea area, countless lines of defense and offensive preparations were arranged. As long as Liang dares to come, he will usher in a severe blow. "Where's Chihuahai?" Sengoku looked at Akainu and asked. Replied, 4 have already arrived. Among them are Hawkeye Mahawk, Doflamingo, Empress Hancock, and Bartholomew Bear. I see. Sengoku nodded, thinking in his heart. Shichibukai, aside from Crocodile. There are also Hexia Jinping and Moonlight Moria who did not arrive as scheduled. But it is also reasonable, in these 3 days, it is impossible for all Chihuahai to reach the destination, and there will definitely be a few who did not arrive in time. However, 4 Chihuahai arrived, which made the warring states feel a little relieved. This time, the plan to destroy Liang is inevitable. If he fails to kill Liang, or arrest Liang, the next thing will be more troublesome. Chapter 095 The war started. NLT, 29 and GT. If he fails to kill Liang, or arrest Liang, the next thing will be more troublesome. This time, Liang will announce the target of the attack. Next time, no one can say whether Liang will attack suddenly. If it is a sudden attack, even if Garp is in the branch, it will not be able to stop Liang from destroying the branch. Whoa! The sea water floated, splashed with water stains, threw it into the air, and then fell to the board of the ship. The sea breeze was blowing, and it was refreshing. At the same time, in the area not far from each other, many pirates and newspapers and magazines are closely watching the G3 branch's every move, and they have used telephone bugs and video bugs to record information. Now, the Navy headquarters is in place. It is said that even the Chihuahai has been dispatched, and 4 Chihuahai have come, and there are 2 generals, the warring states marshal personally came, plus Lieutenant General Garp. My God, this force is so terrifying, can Liang really handle it? I don't know, but the force used by the Navy headquarters can definitely destroy the power of a 4 emperor. And Liang, can it compete with it? Moreover, I haven't seen Liang's shadow yet. I don't know if Liang will feel scared because of the movement of the Navy and will not come. If Liang doesn't come, the battle will naturally not start. Quote. This one has attracted much attention. Even the world is watching every move in this battle. 0. Pirates, Navy, civilians, Revolutionary Army, etc., people of different identities, all focus their attention here. Look, that is, Hancock, the female emperor known as the most beautiful woman in the world, she is here too. A newspaper staff member looked forward with a face full of nympho, and said excitedly, I see. A tall, graceful and beautiful woman, standing on the piercing board of the warship, is gradually sailing into the G3 branch ahead. And she, of course, is one of the 7 Cs, the Empress Boya Hancock. Her facial features are as delicate as the most beautiful objects in the world. In addition, she exudes that cold and noble temperament all over her body. She has a devilish figure and a pair of straight long legs. Is normal. In particular, she has a body that is close to 2 meters, and she is so tall that she is unbelievably tall. On the other side, on the ship's board, there is a man wearing black clothes and carrying a cross sword, Hawkeye Mahawk. On the fence of the ship, Doflamingo stood with his feet on the fence, wearing pink feather clothes, the corners of his mouth evoked a strange arc, and his smile was very mysterious. The Bartholomew Bear stood in the center, not saying a word. Chihuahai, the 4 are ready to enter the G3 branch. This scene, let everyone see, but also showed a very excited look. 4 people have come down from Chihuahai. This time, if Liang is alone, he is really in danger. No, the Navy headquarters almost came out to protect the G3 branch. They are determined. This time, they really want to completely defeat Liang. In this way, Admiral Qingzi sits in the naval headquarters, and Lieutenant General Crane can also effectively prevent others from taking advantage of the situation, especially the Revolutionary Army. The Navy has a good plan. This battle is really making people look forward to it more and more. Quote. 3 days have come, what about Liang? Why is he not there yet? Is he afraid? There are many, and people's minds keep popping up all kinds of guesses. Some people think that Liang did not dare to come, for fear of being arrested by the Navy headquarters. Some people also said that before the time, perhaps Liang was already here, but he just didn't appear in the eyes of everyone. All kinds of speculation, no final answer. Chapter-96-Liang arrives. It is far away in the sea area that is thousands of meters away from the G3 branch. A pirate ship appeared here, wandering vaguely around. Countless pirates, in order to watch this battle, came non-stop from faraway places. Some finally arrived at the scene, and some were still on their way. Even the pirates in the New World expressed regret. If it wasn't because the distance was too long, they would all come here to watch the battle. After all, this battle is related to the pattern of the world, and it is a battle that attracts the attention of the world. Can Liang himself defeat the Navy headquarters? Will Liang himself be arrested or killed by the Navy headquarters? All kinds of guesses make people look forward to it, and I can't wait for the battle to start immediately. All in all, this battle has been recorded by countless video worms and spread all over the world as a live broadcast. At this time, a piece of raft gradually, 427, appeared in people's sight. On the raft, Liang's face was calm, his eyes looked at the G3 naval branch ahead, and the corners of his mouth moved slightly. 3 days have come, I hope the naval headquarters will not disappoint me too much. Whoa! Seawater flowed, and the raft approached the position of the G3 naval branch according to the current. At the same time, countless pirates saw Liang's figure and were completely boiling. My God, that's Liang, here he is. Sure enough, Liang couldn't be absent, he really came. This battle is about to break out. Liang. Quote. Countless pirates looked at Liang's appearance, their faces were full of excitement, and they shouted loudly. At this time, Liang, representing the pirates, collided with the opposing navy. If Liang can win, it means that the pirates have won, and they will naturally feel extremely excited. But if the navy wins, they will go back to the old days, turning around and running when they see the navy. And now, the most critical moment has come. The image worm recorded Liang's figure and gradually drove to the sea area ahead. In the sight of many pirates, Liang's back gradually turned into a black spot, and then disappeared without a trace. The calm sea ushered in a big shock. Liang, finally dispatched. This battle is inevitable, and in the end who can win is what people pay attention to. Liang stepped on the raft and looked at the G3 branch that was getting closer and closer in front. His face was expressionless, his face was calm, and he didn't feel nervous at all. Instead, he seemed to be calm, like walking in his own back garden. The atmosphere is very good. Quote. Liang's eyes flickered, the corners of his mouth twitched, and he smiled. He could guess that the Navy headquarters had already taken measures to deal with it. It's impossible. After his words were spread, the Navy headquarters still faced it with nothing to do. In this case, Liang wants to destroy the G3 branch, it is too simple. Even if there is a GARP sitting here, Liang will not think that the other party can stop him. At this time, there was silence around Liang. The sea is calm and swaying with the wind. There are no other people, and in the middle of the entire sea, he is left alone, standing here. And his whole person has become the focus of everyone. Liang, he's here. On the high wall of the G3 branch, a navy stared at Liang's figure and shouted. What? Chapter-96-Liang arrives. NLT, 31 and GT. What? Many navies moved by the wind, their eyes fixed on Liang's body in front of them. Their throats were dry, and they did not dare to act rashly. Liang alone gave them an unprecedented sense of oppression. Although they held guns in their hands, they did not dare to attack Liang. Before the Warring States period issued an order, no one could act rashly. Moreover, they want to point the gun at Liang and pull the trigger, which also requires great courage. Liang in front of him was a terrifying figure who destroyed the G4 branch, and even a terrifying powerhouse that even the 3 generals could not shake. These ordinary navies must be nervous. A person stronger than the general stood in front of him, and it was difficult to hide the apprehension in his heart. A gun is just a meaningless tool in this kind of battle, and it can't even hurt Li Yang's skin. Bullets can't even penetrate Li Yang's skin. In this way, the gun has no meaning and is only used for decoration. Go and inform the warring states marshal, hurry up. A soldier looked anxious and quickly left. Seeing that Li Yang went to the meeting alone, they still did not dare to be careless. The shadow of the famous tree of people, Li Yang is famous, and with his own strength, this record against the three generals is enough to show his own extraordinariness. Immediately, with the arrival of Li Yang, the navy seemed to be a little confused. Before the battle started, the fear in their hearts continued to spread, causing them to lose their morale first. As a result, once the battle begins, they can play very little role. However, it is normal. In this level of battle, no matter how many ordinary people come, they will all die. Soon. Warring States wore a white uniform and walked to the high wall. His face was serious, his eyes were low, his steps were steady, and his body spread a sense of majesty of a marshal. Behind him, Garp, Akainu, Kazaru, and many lieutenant generals, as well as 4 Shichibukai, also walked step by step. This lineup is already quite terrifying. Even in the face of the 4 emperors, it is not necessarily without the strength of a battle. Li Yang, are you here? Sengoku's tone was low, and his eyes looked at the sea in front of him. As expected. Li Yang, standing on the raft, looked at the high wall, looked at the warring states, and even showed a calm smile. Garp, Akainu and the others looked at Li Yang invariably, expressionless. Good come. Garp narrowed his eyes slightly, took a deep breath, and said, if you want to destroy my G3 branch, you have to see if he has the ability. He couldn't wait to play against Li Yang. Don't be too careless. It's hard to say whether he has grown in these 3 days. The warring states period pondered for a moment and said. It's just that Li Yang has already arrived, which means that this battle is inevitable. 3.4. Prepare for battle. Sengoku shouted loudly. Immediately after. Countless navies raised their guns and looked at Li Yang, looking particularly nervous, but under the order of the warring states period, they still suppressed their inner tension and stared at Li Yang. The concentration of people here is no less than tens of thousands. In addition to the top combat powers such as the warring states period, 2/3 of the strength of the naval headquarters has already been dispatched. The purpose is to arrest Li Yang, and even kill Li Yang. This battle, the goal of the warring states period, must prevent Li Yang from being domineering in the sea in the future, whether it is killing or arresting. All in all, if Li Yang succeeds today, destroys the G3 branch and then retreats, then no one will be able to stop Li Yang's crazy actions. The world government, I'm afraid it can't do it. NLT, 32 and GT. Chapter 097_triggered. This man is the legendary one, Li Yang. Hancock's beautiful eyes flickered a little, thinking so in his heart. She stood on the high wall and looked at Li Yang's unnerved face below, which always made her a little moved. Under the domination of so many terrifying forces, the man who still did not change his face, such courage, touched the string in her heart. He was obviously isolated and helpless, but he couldn't even see the slightest nervousness. Such a man is the perfect object in a woman's heart. Even a perfect woman like Hancock is no exception. Aside. Doflamingo wore sunglasses, looked at Li Yang in front of him, and said nothing. But in his heart, he has already made plans. Next, after the battle is over, how can he find an opportunity to cooperate with Li Yang? With Li Yang's cooperation, it is more effective for his business. Even if he faces the 4 Emperor Kaido at that time, he still has the confidence to talk about the price. 28 inches. I don't know, will this monster-like man be arrested? Come to think of it, no matter how bad it is possible to escape from here. With his terrifying strength that can shake the 3 generals, it is not difficult to do so. Quote. Doflamingo thought to himself, a strange arc twitched at the corner of his mouth. In the Chiwahai, everyone's mind is very different. But apart from the Bartholomew Bear, the other three did not plan to go all out. Including Hawkeye, did not want to provoke such a terrifying monster for the sake of the Navy headquarters. But what attracted Eagle Eyes was Liang's swordsmanship. According to rumors, his swordsmanship is already perfect. Hawkeye's eyes are bright, and it is difficult to hide the emotion in his heart that he wants to compare. In swordsmanship, he would not give in to anyone, even the four emperors, the red-haired Shanks, often fought with him. The two were on a par, and there was no winner. But according to the rumors at sea, Liang in front of him, swordsmanship is superior to everyone. Thought here. Hawkeye couldn't calm down, he couldn't wait to have a pure sword fight with Liang. At this moment, warring states looked at Liang and shouted, "Fugitive Liang, who destroyed the G4 branch and regarded the majesty of the naval headquarters as nothing, is a heinous crime. Today, he is trying to attack the G3 branch, which is extremely rampant. Just today, the Navy headquarters will officially attack Liang. From now on, there will be no Liang in the sea." The sound was loud and clear, sweeping the surrounding sea. Front. On the raft. After Liang heard the voice of the warring states, he raised his head, looked at the warring states without fear, and said with a smile, "Don't talk so much, just a word, come to fight." Silence. The pirates in the nearby waters were stunned. Really? This is the Liang they know. He is so lawless that he doesn't even care about the Navy headquarters. His unruly personality has driven countless pirates crazy. Liang, beat the Navy headquarters fiercely and let them see what the Navy is. It's just a group of soft-footed shrimp. Go ahead, these guys from the Navy headquarters, I have long been disliked by him. Come on, Liang, I'm optimistic about you. Quote. Their voices were very weak and could not reach the battlefield ahead, but they also represented their own position. Image worms, convey this picture to every corner of the world. Chapter-097_ it's a trigger, please customize it. And LT, 33 and GT. Image worms, convey this picture to every corner of the world. People on countless islands can see the beginning of this war from the big screen. A war is about to break out. After all, who will win? In front of the warring states Marshal, Lieutenant General Garp, 2 generals, and the terrifying combat power of the 4 Chihuahai, can Liang still destroy the G3 branch? Impossible. If he can destroy the G3 branch, I will eat a pound of shit now. The one who said that you eat shit just now, don't run away. I remember your appearance. Next, let's see the final result of this battle. Quote. On the island, many civilians were also watching in front of the big screen, staring intently at the changes in the battlefield. Many of them are newspaper staff, they are more serious, and they have not missed any details of this battle. This battle is going to be published in the newspaper, how could they allow themselves to miss it? G3 branch. Above the high wall. Warring States slowly raised his right hand, his face was gloomy and uncertain, he looked at Liang, and issued an order, the gunman is ready. Swish swish. The Navy soldier held a gun and aimed at Liang, his expression a little nervous. Let it go. With a command from the warring states. Boom, boom. The gunshots sounded, and bullets cut through the air and attacked Liang's position. Knowing that it was meaningless, the warring states still planned to strike first, pull up the momentum on his side, and then conduct a violent confrontation. At this time, Liang stood on the raft, facing the attack of many bullets in front of him. His whole body was covered with a layer of black jade-like armed armor, covering his whole body, motionless. Boom, boom. The bullet hit his body, but it didn't hurt at all when it hit the armed color domineering. Bullets hit Liang's shoulders, thighs, and head, but they still didn't leave him any scars. The surrounding sea water was splashed by bullets and splashed at Liang's feet. The naval offensive was over. However, Liang's face was calm, and he was standing on the raft unscathed. Instead, it was a raft, which was punched 310 times through thousands of holes, and it seemed that it was about to sink to the bottom of the sea. Liang, unscathed, armed and domineering, has it been under such control? Brother Doflamingo's pupils shrank, and his heart became even more excited. The idea of cooperating with Liang is more firm. The female Emperor Hancock next to her has no emotional fluctuations on her delicate face. Sengoku and Carp and others were also without waves. If the bullets could kill Liang, they wouldn't have to wait so hard. This was just an appetizer, and it had not yet reached the real war moment. In the initial fight, no one knew the depth of Liang. The scene where the bullet hit Liang, but could not kill Liang, made many pirates present feel excited. Although many of them can also block bullets, when they see Liang blocking bullets just by using his armed colors, they feel even more excited. Looking at it now, Liang is covered with a layer of black armament. The image worm conveyed the picture just now to all parts of the world. Everyone is waiting for the war to really begin. Right at this moment, Liang raised his right hand, pulled out the black sword and autumn water, covered with a layer of black armed color, exuding a fierce sword energy. His eyes were sharp, looking forward, and said slowly, "Now, it's my shot." NLT, 34 and GT. Chapter 098_Hawkeye is dispatched. Well. Warring States raised his brows and stood on the high wall, looking at Liang exuding the fierce sword energy. The pressure in his heart gradually increased. His swordsmanship is very strong. At this time, the yellow monkey opened his mouth and reminded. He has seen Liang's swordsmanship, which is quite terrifying. Even the great swordsman Hawkeye can't compare with Liang's swordsmanship. Of Kizaru, Hawkeye's eyes were filled with a bit of a strange gleam. Hei Daoye, one of the supreme swordsmen, also had a sharp sword energy on his body. Hawkeye's move did not surprise those present. I often encounter swordsman masters, but any swordsman can't help but want to fight with each other in his heart. Seeing that Hawkeye was about to move, Warring States simply did not speak. If Liang wanted to attack, it would be a good plan if Hawkeye stopped him. At this time, Liang held the black knife Chushui. His face was expressionless. He slowly raised his right hand, and went down in a fight. Call out. A dazzling slash slammed into the front swiftly. The sea moved, and a clear crack appeared. The sword chi washed away the sea, and the scene was breathtaking. The sea water roared loudly, picking up more than 10 meters of sea water and throwing it in the air. Liang attacked. Countless pirates stared at the battlefield in front of them without saying a word or taking their eyes off of them. This was Liang's first attack when he arrived on the battlefield. Just by looking at the sea water that was thrown into the sky above 10 meters, you can judge how terrifying this slash is. High wall. Many navies' throats were dry, so nervous that their words were stuck at the juncture, and they dared not say a word. That dazzling slash was getting closer. At the same time, Hawkeye stood forward, expressionless, holding the black knife knight, and slid down. Call out. Another terrifying slash slammed away. The duel between swordsmanship and swordsmanship begins at this moment. The two slashes collided. Boom. A loud bang. The sea water splashed and exploded, and a huge vortex appeared. The drop of seawater even flew directly to the altitude of tens of meters, falling on the sea surface, causing waves of ripples. The world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye Mahawk, has taken action. This moment. It shocked everyone, the collision of swordsmanship and swordsmanship. It seems, the two are evenly divided. Is Liang's swordsmanship the same as Hawkeye's? No, this is just the beginning of the fight. No one knows how it will evolve in the future. Is Liang also proficient in swordsmanship? It's an almighty monster. This collision made me all excited. Quote. The pirates looked at the battlefield in front of them intently, with excitement on their faces. Such battles are rare. There are many swordsmen, without blinking their eyes, staring at Hawkeye and Liang, trying to see from the two of them how far they are from them. Hawkeye. Liang raised his eyelids slightly, and a meaningful smile appeared on his face, the world's largest swordsman. Since you are here, it is time for this position to change hands. As soon as the words came out, the audience was shocked. What? Is Li Ang going to claim the title of the greatest swordsman in the Hawkeye world? My God, this battle has changed too much. Has Li Ang's swordsmanship been able to shake the level of Hawkeye? But there have been rumors recently that Li Ang's swordsmanship is already well-deserved world number 1. Chapter-98-Eagle Eyes. NLT, 35 and GT. My God, this battle has changed too much. Has Li Ang's swordsmanship been able to shake the level of Hawkeye? But there have been rumors recently that Li Ang's swordsmanship is already well-deserved world number 1. When the world number 1 collides with the world number 1, what kind of sparks will be produced? Who is stronger or weaker? Let's wait and see. Many pirates, and even in front of the big screen conveyed by the video worm, everyone clearly heard what Li Ang said. The sea is boiling, and countless swordsmen are excited. After all, can Hawkeye maintain his title as the world's greatest swordsman? This is a mystery. After all, Li Ang's swordsmanship is also very terrifying. Two people who are known as the world's first are finally about to collide. No one can know who is better. But this matchup is absolutely unprecedented. If you can take it, take it. Hawkeye was fearless and said lightly. He is holding the Black Sword Knight, with the sharp edge of a great swordsman all over his body. His eyes are as sharp as eagles, and they are far apart, which can make people feel terrified. Then I'll be more respectful than obedient. Li Ang stood on the raft, smiled faintly, held the Black Knight, and quickly cut down. A sharp slash, hitting the front. For a moment, Li Ang launched 3 slashes. His eyes were fixed on Hawkeye's body, and there was a smile on his face. The ultimate swordsmanship, he would not think that he would lose to Hawkeye. Instead, he wanted to see how long Hawkeye could last. In this world, no one can be stronger than him in the field of swordsmanship. Because his control of swordsmanship is beyond the scope of people's understanding. After all, the ultimate swordsmanship given by the system is not just talk. Call out, call out, call out. In the face of 3 fierce victories, Eagle Eye's expression remained unchanged. Holding the black sword in the night, 3 victories also broke out, colliding with Li Ang's attack. Boom! The sound made people's ears buzz. The waves of the sea rolled, and the impact of the attack erupted, causing the calm sea to tumble as if a storm was about to hit. Just when Hawkeye calmed down a little, a bright light flashed away in front of him. Well! Hawkeye's pupils shrank, and he quickly waved a slash. Boom! The 2 slashes collided, and this was gradually blocked. Li Ang's 3 slashes required 4 slashes from Eagle Eye to be barely blocked. The difference between the 2 sides is clear at a glance. Hawkeye's face gradually became heavy. He didn't realize it at first, and he almost capsized in the conspiracy. If he hadn't reacted in time, I'm afraid that the sharp attack just now would have killed him. Li Ang, you are very strong. Hawkeye's tone became solemn, looked at Li Ang, and said slowly, next, get serious. I can feel that you are not serious yet, are you? It was found. Corners of Li Ang's mouth were slightly raised, and he smiled faintly, want me to be serious? It's not impossible, but you also showed a level of swordsmanship that deserves to be taken seriously. I don't like fighting the weak seriously, even if you are known as the world's greatest swordsman. But, in front of me, your world's greatest swordsman is nothing at all. Heard. Hawkeye's expression remained unchanged. With the level shown by the 2 sides just now, he already knew in his heart that he was inferior to Li Ang in terms of swordsmanship. But it's not enough for him to admit defeat. Now about admitting defeat. It's still too early. Until the last moment, no one knows who will win the final victory. NLT, 36 and GT. Chapter-99-Swordsmanship Showdown. The atmosphere became silent. No one in the audience made a sound, and they were all watching the fight between Li Ang and Hawkeye. The duel between swordsmanship and swordsmanship, and it is still such a top swordsmanship duel, is rare. After a brief collision just now, everyone present was already aware of it. Li Yang's swordsmanship level is no less than Hawkeye's, or even better. The wall of the G3 branch. Sengoku, Garp and the others were expressionless, looking at Li Yang in front of them. At this time, Hawkeye jumped directly from the fence and stood on a small island. It could not be said to be an island, but that it was a slightly protruding ground. The whole area is less than 20 meters. But here, as the battlefield of the two swordsmanship duel, it is more suitable. Come to fight. The eagle eye pointed at Li Yang and said bluntly. Rare for 20-0, to encounter such a terrible swordsman, how could Hawkeye allow himself to miss it? In this battle, whether he wins or loses, he gains something. It's really hard for me. Li Yang glanced at Sengoku Garp and the others, and said helplessly, I'm here today, but I want to destroy the G3 branch. It's a bit of a waste to fight against you now. If you can't beat me, then you can't fight the G3 branch. Hawkeye said coldly without any expression. If Li Yang did not agree to fight against him, then he would stand in the position of the naval headquarters and attack Li Yang. Anyway, he would eventually collide with Li Yang. That means I have to fight you. Li Yang's eyes narrowed slightly, evoking an arc. Exactly. Hawkeye nodded and said. Immediately, Li Yang stretched his waist, holding a black knife in autumn water. No one could see his movements, and his figure disappeared on the raft. In the blink of an eye, Li Yang stood beside Hawkeye and smiled faintly. I can't even keep up with my speed. What are you using to fight me? Well. Hawkeye's pupils shrank, and he quickly took a few steps back. I have to admit that Li Yang's speed is terrifying. Even a terrifying figure like Hawkeye couldn't react immediately. After seeing Li Yang's speed, the faces of Sengoku, Garp and the others on the fence became more and more serious. It is this speed, surpassing the speed of Kizaru, which makes them feel extremely difficult in their hearts. As I said, in the field of speed, he is still number one. Huang Yuan took a deep breath. Although he didn't want to admit it, Li Yang was indeed stronger than him in the field of speed. Even with glittering fruit, he can't compare to Li Yang. This is to challenge the authority of the devil fruit with pure flesh, and finally win. The pure physical speed is faster than the speed of the glittering fruit. What does this mean? It means that Li Yang's speed has been tempered. Of course. They didn't know that Li Yang mastered such a terrifying speed, and it didn't take a minute at all before and after, and the modifier directly adjusted his speed to the extreme. Call out. A sharp slash slashed the sea. Li Yang and Hawkeye finally made their move. You are too slow. Chapter 099_Swordsmanship Showdown. And LT, 37 and GT. You are too slow. Swordsmanship, that's not how you use it. Your swordsmanship is still very poor. There is a flaw in your left waist. If you don't block it, I can use this flaw to kill you. By the way, how did you get the title of the world's greatest swordsman? Li Yang's speed is very terrifying, holding a black knife in autumn water, hovering beside Hawkeye. At the same time, his words continued to impact Hawkeye's heart, causing Hawkeye to almost collapse. In the field of swordsmanship, someone had picked out so many faults for him. Moreover, it was picked out by an enemy, not by himself. This made Hawkeye, known as the world's greatest swordsman, feel very aggrieved, and his swordsmanship became worse and worse. Attitude is the key to fighting. If the mentality cannot be stabilized, no matter how strong you are, you will be much weaker when you display it. At this moment, Li Yang was constantly consuming Hawkeye's mentality. After seeing Hawkeye's expression becoming extremely aggrieved, Li Yang's mouth curled slightly and said with a smile, with your swordsmanship, it would be better to go home for more than 10 or 20 years. You are really not worthy of me being serious. Ah. Cut. Hawkeye was expressionless, staring at Li Yang, wielding a sharp slash. The terrifying slash even cut through the ground, split into two halves, and the sea was slashed open, with terrifying power. No matter how strong the attack is, if it doesn't hit the enemy, it is meaningless. Liang smiled lightly, dodging Hawkeye's attack very easily. At the same time, he raised his hand slightly, waved a sharp slash, and attacked the left rib of Hawkeye, which was a weakness of Hawkeye. Not good. Hawkeye's expression changed slightly, and with a kick of his feet, he quickly avoided it. But this slash still slid in front of him, cutting a gap in the corner of his clothes. Almost, he was about to die under Liang's fierce slash. The danger of death pervades. Can't you even make him serious? Hawkeye looked at Liang, doubting his swordsmanship. He thought just now that Liang was just a little bit stronger than him, but now after fighting for no less than 10 rounds, he found the gap between the two. The huge gap, like a gulf, cannot be filled. Come again. Hawkeye took a deep breath and calmed down. As a great swordsman, his swordsmanship has been tempered, and his mentality has also been tempered in countless battles. Although he lost his balance temporarily, after a little calm, he would return to his prime. Not bad, a little interesting. At this time, Liang felt a little troublesome when facing Hawkeye's sword attack again, which made him feel even more happy, and couldn't help but appreciate it. But his admiration was incomparably harsh in Hawkeye's ears. 1.1 Once upon a time, Hawkeye was at the top level of swordsmanship. If you want to teach people, only he can teach others. In front of Liang, Hawkeye is like a child who has just learned to walk. He is far from keeping up with Liang's back, and he feels extremely exhausted. Show your true level and let me understand the gap between you and me. Hawkeye looked at Liang, took a deep breath, and said solemnly. Are you serious? Liang narrowed his eyes slightly and asked with a smile. Of course. Hawkeye did not deny it, solemnly said. Seriously, I'm afraid, I will accidentally kill you. Liang's mouth moved slightly, showing a smile, and said, however, since you have said it all, then I just need to be serious and play with you. Hope you won't be hit too hard. And LT, 38 and GT. Chapter-100 _ defeats Eagle Eye. Come on. Hawkeye was focused and ready to go. Liang looked calm, with a light smile on his face, holding a black knife and autumn water, but this lazy appearance still gave Hawkeye endless pressure. In terms of momentum, Eagle Eye was crushed by Liang. See this screen. Warring states couldn't sit still. In this way, Hawkeye will lose. As I said earlier, in the field of swordsmanship, Liang is number 1 in the world. Moreover, in any field he involves, he is number 1 in the world. Kizaru's mood is extremely heavy, and these words include the field of speed. In the field of speed, he can't compare with Liang. Armed color, is it the ultimate? Karp's eyelids twitched and he said slowly. His armament skills are quite high. But if you look at it this way, isn't Liang's armed arrogance stronger than his? Come on, it should be. Kizaru nodded with difficulty and said. Such an enemy is really annoying. Karp took a deep breath, and his tone was also very heavy. In any field, standing on the top of the horror characters, 28 people like the enemy, I am afraid, I will be scared to wake up from a dream. Speed, swordsmanship, and armament, just based on the 3 areas they knew, Liang was the absolute number 1. The number 1 in these 3 fields is enough to keep them ready. Not far away. Many pirates watched the fight between Liang and Hawkeye, and they were shocked. Hawkeye, it's suppressed, you see. I see, the Eagle Eye, who is known as the direct number 1 swordsman, was actually suppressed by Liang. My god, Liang is too strong. No wonder, I can suppress the 3 generals by myself. This man is hard to fathom. Quote. In the battlefield. The ground has cracked. Under the slash of Eagle Eye, this prominent piece of land gradually dissipated, and the area became smaller and smaller. The space for Liang and Hawkeye to fight is getting smaller and smaller. But even under this circumstance, Li Yang's swordsmanship level was thoroughly displayed in Hawkeye's eyes. Boom! Li Yang held Chushui in his hand, full of armed domineering. He easily dealt with every attack of Hawkeye, and used Chushui to block, rubbing out bursts of fire. From the beginning to the end, Li Yang's expression did not fluctuate. Pressure. Facing Hawkeye, Li Yang was not under pressure. Boom, boom, boom. The two fought for no less than 100 rounds in the blink of an eye. Li Yang was still not blushing or panting, and his sword moves did not slow down because of this, and he was still extremely fierce. On the contrary, it was Hawkeye himself, and his state was a little frightened. He has to prevent Li Yang's terrifying speed at all times. When he is highly concentrated, his physical strength is also very fast. I'm going to get serious. Li Yang's mouth moved slightly and said lightly. Aren't you serious yet? Hawkeye's face changed slightly, and before he was serious, he gave him a sense of pressure that he couldn't beat. If serious, what would he have done? Next, I will blow the knife in your hand into the air. Li Yang was expressionless and said calmly. For a swordsman, the weapon in his hand is everything. If even the weapons were sent flying, it would definitely be a huge insult to Zhanao. Come on. Hawkeye was fearless, his eyes focused, staring at Li Yang, unmoved. Immediately after. Chapter 100_sword defeats Eagle Eye. Please customize it. NLT, 39 and GT. Immediately after. Just in plain sight. Li Yang moved his feet, and the figure disappeared from Hawkeye's sight. I'm behind you. A voice faintly drifted away. Hawkeye's complexion changed, he quickly turned around, and stabbed the position behind him. I lied to you. Li Yang remained in place, without any movement. He held the black knife Chushui, and slashed it with one sword. Not good. Hawkeye turned around, ready to defend. But Li Yang's swordsmanship is too weird, there is no possibility of defense at all, and, at this critical moment, Hawkeye's speed simply can't keep up with Li Yang's speed. From the very beginning, the moment the two played against each other. The end is already doomed. Even without the ultimate speed, Li Yang has the ultimate swordsmanship and can defeat Hawkeye. The modifier has given Li Yang the number 1 in any field, which is absolute, and no one can compete. The extreme speed, the yellow monkey can't compete. At the pinnacle of swordsmanship, Hawkeye was also unable to fight against him. It is precisely because he possesses a variety of extreme strengths that Li Yang alone can compete with the three generals, and he has not fallen behind for a long time, and even finally retreated. Such a terrible monster. If it is an enemy, what a terrible nightmare. Just like the current naval headquarters, after seeing Li Yang's strange swordsmanship, they all felt a little uneasy in their hearts. Your reaction is too slow to keep up with my sword moves. So, you are defeated. Li Yang slashed with a sword and hit the front end of the black knife knight on Hawkeye's hand. A huge vibration caused Hawkeye's right hand to go numb, and he completely lost his strength and let go of his right hand. PFF'd. He Daoye pierced the ground, and a swordsman's weapon fell from his hand, which already meant the ending. Hawkeye, known as the world's greatest swordsman, ushered in the biggest abnormal defeat in his life. Moreover, it was still at the peak of his life, the period when his swordsmanship was the strongest, the defeat he ushered in. I lost. Hawkeye stared blankly at his right hand, and then at He Daoye. His lips moved slightly, his tone inexplicable. This is the defeat he has felt again for many years. For many years, no one could beat him with swordsmanship. But at this moment 247. In front of Li Yang, he was completely defeated. Li Yang was just a little serious, and he was already defeated. The gap between the two is very far away. At this moment, Hawkeye understood that Li Yang's swordsmanship level was far from what he could match now. Well deserved, the world's first swordsmanship. Hawkeye's throat was dry, looking at Li Yang's back gradually leaving, his expression was inexplicable. Li Yang did not kill him, but gave him a painful experience. The arrogant Hawkeye was still defeated, and he was completely pulled down from the position of the world's largest swordsman. From now on, there is only one world #1 swordsman in the world. This person is not Hawkeye Mahawk, one of the 7 Seas. Even less likely is the red-haired Shanks. This person, his name is Li Yang. There is no suspense, the use of pure swordsmanship to defeat Hawkeye, to obtain the title of the world's largest swordsman, and no one dares to question. Even the picture of Li Yang defeating Hawkeye was so easy. In everyone's heart, I'm afraid, this is far from Li Yang's limit. So, where is Li Yang's limit? In this world, no one can push the limits of Li Yang's swordsmanship. Even Hawkeye Mahawk can't do it, and it's even more impossible for others.